Okay. All right. Here we go. And we're here. You know, that's a habit I need to start building. Have a. Oh, god dang it. Up there, you. You get up there, you. Honestly, I should be looking at my microphone. When I say the first words on the stream, I should be looking at the microphone meter to make sure it picks up. Because my microphone's a little bit of a scam. It's a little. See, here's the thing. The original cord that fit it got worn out. So I've had to replace the cord, hoping that it would be better, and it turns out that the cord that I used to replace it inherently doesn't fit well. Sometimes the cord will jiggle its way out for fun. So I'm always a little bit, I just got to be looking at the microphone meter when I speak at the beginning of every one of these, make sure that the audio is going. Because it still has caught me every now and then, and it's always embarrassing every time, even though I try to shrug it off. But hey, welcome to the stream, everyone. I'm your host, Isaac MCCanary. Back to animating. Didn't do it last week. I was unfortunately a little bit busy, and I just went, I need a day off. And that might happen more these days. We'll see. I might have to cut a little bit more. Just a lot. At the very least, I think Wednesdays are now going to be, no matter what, evening, moving forward, and then Saturdays, I should continue doing at least one stream with a backup for cases like yesterday, because it was just busy yesterday. We went and did thing with friends, so was not available yesterday. We might make up today. We'll see. So, as we left off, I had just finished drawing my character catching the popper in midair, and the process has been so far that... Why aren't you doing this thing? That's it. How did I undock it? How did I undock you? Need to. If I redock you to the bottom... Oh, no. We don't want that to happen. There you go. So, I had just caught the popper in the air. As I've been doing with all of these, typically speaking, I have been doing a little bit of fixing to make sure that I got everything correct, because animation is hard. Animation is difficult, believe it or not. And really, right now, I just need to focus on, I think, fixing the eyes. Which I want to keep that size. It looks like the nose. Oh, the mouth also moves a weird way. What's funny, what we're going to do, what we're going to start with, is probably around here, at the beginning of these streams, and at the beginning of all my drawing streams, though I've been a bit flustered recently. I will admit that. I think I've been a little bit flustered from a combination of things. So I've been kind of forgetting, like on my drawing streams, the intent of my drawing streams is to spend some time practicing, is to spend some time warming up practicing every drawing stream now. And I might have forgotten that the last couple times. I may have forgotten that the last couple times, which is my bad. That was my bad. So hopefully, moving forward, I'll be a little bit more focused. And just right now, I want to focus for this to warm up is that I'm going back and polishing the parts that were in between and redoing a lot of the tweens and stuff. I have kind of made it a bit of a personal goal with this now also, I think I figured out how to do my like off-stream work with it. Is I haven't tested this yet, but I do want to try it at some point. If I'm like just vibing or hanging out, like I want to have this on the side and just be working on frames while we're chilling. Because I think that's the nice thing about this and like polishing, which I've never really experienced with my own work because a lot of my work does not really I'm not used to this kind of thing in my work, which maybe I need to implement more, is being able to just have downtime that I can polish a piece. And be able to do that while doing something else is usually very nice for me. It's something that helps me personally, as well as allows me to keep on just like it's low strain because it is just me taking some time to just kind of like just just be able to do something in the meantime, if that makes sense. It's just an opportunity for me to take some time to practice a little or do something on the side while we're just vibing. Because I feel like one of the things that I do a lot is I'm like, I really want to keep working on things, or I really want to like be able to work more on things, but then oftentimes find myself like at a weird spot where I'm like, I'm too busy though with other things, which is fine. That's not a bad thing. I'm not here to say that how dare I want to spend time with my loved ones. I don't you know what they say, all work and no play makes Johnny go crazy. Makes Johnny kill people. Um which is fair. I'm not here to be like I'm not here to say like, "Oh yeah, I definitely should just work more." That's not what I want to do. What I really want to do is just be able to continue to like at least do something on the side like sketching or something and stuff like this, being able to like clean up tweens and stuff would be the perfect thing because while it's really good for warming up, it's still not great because I want to focus these sessions on making progress. I want to focus these sessions on making sure that forward momentum is continued. And while polish is a part of forward momentum, it's not necessarily the best part of forward momentum, if that makes sense. Like yeah, it's keeping me in line, it's keeping me in progress, but it's not necessarily eh, it's not necessarily what I want to focus on. I want to focus on making sure that the progress being made is with the front end of the animation, or making sure that like the bigger parts of the animation are what are being focused on in these streams. But that's not to say that I oh that's not to say I only want to make forward progress and not show kind of comprehensively the process of what it looks like to animate something. I don't know what I just. Oh, that's what? Oh, edit multiple frames, selected range. That's fascinating. I didn't know that was a thing I could do. What is that? I want to be able to see how that face move worked. That's much better. And as I've been polishing this, as I can tell, like I've been making a lot of good progress in making sure that I don't have to polish as much. And again, I I find now with my animation, and if I start implementing like okay, just kind of off time, off on my own, or while I'm like watching a thing or doing a thing, being able to animate on the frames I already have instead of having to focus on forward momentum means I can kind of just chill out and just work with what's already there. And that'll be super helpful for me because it'll mean I'm still keeping forward momentum without having to really be strained or pressured by being concerned with one of the things that I feel like sometimes I get a little bit in my head about is depriving sharing the process, which is a bit of a mistake. I think that's a mistake I make sometimes, is that I'm like worried that I'm like, oh, but people aren't going to see that part. And I'm like, I don't think people are going to care that much. I actually do think that I have a bad habit of being like, no, but people aren't going to see it. It's like, well, yeah, but are people going to miss it? Is what I have to remember, right? Like, are people going to be like, but we didn't see you do that? And until people say that, I have to be like, you know what? It's fine. It is fine. As much as I want to document everything, which I do, which is partly in fault to the way that I uh, went to school. I went to school for geology. I went to school for the science stuff. Like there's a real for me there's a real desire to want to document everything because data is important to me. Data is important to me. Data is important. Data preservation is important to me, even in an unscientific way. Like preserving data is something that I care about actually a lot, a lot. But life is not data, everybody. Remember that. And that's coming from me. And that's not a dig at like wanting to preserve scientific data. That is not a criticism of that. That is me saying I gotta remember it's not that important. It's not, even though I think it is, even though I kind of want it to be. Um, not that important. It's not that important. Because what's important is that I'm making progress on my work. And what's important is that for this particular project, I'm showing you guys the highlights and the most important thing, which is what it looks like to animate on the whole. And part of that is going to be illustrating that when you are animating once a week, it'll take you a very, very, very long time. And that no matter what, and any project like this, and any project that has a lot of moving pieces like this, and any project that's going to take a lot of time, time management is really the biggest difficulty with a long running anything, with a long running project of any kind. And this channel, in a certain sense, this channel, everything I've done online, has kind of become a long running project for me. And it's important to me at least, to recognize that that nature of long runnedness, is a thing that is processed here. It is a thing that I am processing here. Is how long it takes things to be done. Especially if you're doing animation. Animation takes for freaking ever. Okay, I gotta remember that. That's gonna help me. I have to remember that the closer it is to the next frame, you see what's changed more. That's very helpful. Because I had a bad habit of probably making that too small. I have to remember it does matter. It does matter to where you make certain lines depending on what you want. I have to match it. Like, the nose actually changes a bunch, and I don't like that. I don't even know if the nose... I might have to... This is the thing. You have to... If you're going from pose to pose, if you're going from pose to pose like I am with this, sometimes you could do your best to keep proportions proportionate. Flip side, if you are animating pose to pose and you just hit one, I hit this, proportions are nice, they seem congruous, you just have to follow through. You can't second guess yourself, because as soon as you start making changes in the animation, that's going to ripple out and it's going to cause change over time, and that change over time is perceptible, as you can see. Like, the nose probably shouldn't be doing that. It's gonna bug me. Here's what we gotta do. Funny is, that moves down, that moves down. Oh. Well, let's see. Hold on. Huh, that's weird. Also, I don't know what just disconnected and reconnected. I love when that happens. Everything seems to be fine. I don't know what just disconnected and reconnected. Cool. Probably just... Maybe it's just the hard drive. Oh, here we go. Here's a tween. Sometimes I look at my tweens and I'm like, man, how did I think that was gonna work? And sometimes that happens. It is okay. Here is something that I have realized that I think everyone should realize is that when you are drawing and you make a mistake, like a perceptible mistake, you cannot notice a mistake sometimes until after you make it. You can't. It's not possible. It is not to say that you shouldn't keep an eye out or preventing mistakes when you can, but sometimes you will just make a mistake because there was no way for you to be prepared and to judge that that was going to happen. Could be something about the day, could be something about your mindset of what's going on, but there is just sometimes a chance that you just don't really realize that you are about to make a mistake. And that's okay. That's fine. Ain't nothing wrong with that. Need to also delete some here because... Oh. Actually, that entire line probably should move down one more. So we got that right there, right? And then, because it moves down one more, go down maybe more like this. And this is something that I want to get better at, just personally. I feel like I have a bad habit. Seemingly, I have a bad habit of just not being very cognizant of certain things. Like I'm not as precise as I want to be. And the thing that makes me notice that the most, actually, in my work, is actually seeing how I do certain things in comparison to another artist. Wonder if you guess who it is. Wonder if you could guess who it is. But really, it is helpful to like analyze how I like kind of do things compared to another artist, because watching them do their art helps a lot too. Because it's one thing to like look at another piece. You can kind of internalize it. You can study it. You can get a better grasp and idea how somebody accomplished a certain effect. But when you actually see how somebody does something, it's important to watch technique that really gives you a firm understanding of like what you might be missing as far as like placement. Because one of the things is that control in a piece is really important. And there's a certain point, at least I think I've gotten to this point, where you do anything. You do drawing, illustration, animation, whatever you do. You do it long enough. You start to realize that the goal is less to get faster at it from a pure skill standpoint for understanding how to do things, and more of a standpoint of how do I do things effectively? How do I actually put things where I want them to go? Because I feel like for me and a lot of people who grew up drawing for a long, long time, one of the things that I struggled with, that I've been asked, that I know other people do struggle with, is how do you do this shape? How do you do a hand? How do you do a body part? How do you do anything? And the thing is that I've learned is you have to develop a certain amount of confidence in yourself to be able to make marks that you want, and the way that you get to that point is through repetition study and through being willing to be less sketchy over time, be able to im to start to understand how mediums are tools and not just the physical aesthetic. The reason why I bring that up is, well, I have been watching and studying a lot of Bob Ross, and Bob Ross very, very much understands, well, not even understands, just utilizes paint in a way that he uses the paint to do the painting for him. Because he's developed processes and an understanding of how those pigments and how the paint operates, that he can just apply it. It's the application of the paint that he's trying to illustrate and make understand, and that it's magic because when you apply it with care and confidence, you will get a result. The technique is not in the talent, the technique is in the understanding. It's in the patience with yourself to understand that you will ultimately save time if you take your time. In a lot of ways, he's not necessarily going fast. He's just doing things in a single go. And that will always go faster than taking your time to do things a lot. Or rushing something. That's a big thing, is he just doesn't rush his work. And when you don't rush your work, it will seem like you're going stupid fast. But in reality, you're not necessarily going fast, you're just making sure that the actual work you do, the actual thing that you put in, every line, every piece of media, every little thing that you add to a piece builds on itself, and the best way to utilize that, is to make sure that you are being cognizant of how you are applying that medium. You're not just throwing it on there, which is it is a form of drawing. I've done it, but I've noticed the way to get really proficient at something is to start moving in the direction that you can confidently place a line where you want it, that you can confidently place medium where you want it, and not have to scribble and draw over it and scribble and draw over it. Now, if you're wondering, if you're like, well, how do I get to that point? The hard part is you do have to fail to that point. You do have to scribble for a long time to figure out that confidence. You have to develop your confidence in your work. You have to develop your confidence in anything that you do. And sometimes you have to develop the confidence to develop the confidence to do that, which is a nightmare. Trust me, it's a nightmare to do that to yourself. If you care about art, if you care about work, if you care about wanting to improve your work fundamentally, the biggest things that one should always remember is that you want to be doing something. Are you enjoying doing it? Are you enjoying doing it? Something you want to do, something you enjoy doing. Are you enjoying doing it? And then are you doing things to better understand how you're doing it? And what's crazy is even analyzing the way that he works, it's not that he never makes mistakes. It's not that he never knows how to it's not that he does everything perfectly on his first go. It's important to remember to a certain extent that his stuff works because he's just really good. He's really, really good at being able to recognize how to change and move things simply. I highly recommend just because not just because he's a good time, because he is a good time. Uh, he is a really good informative instructor. He knows how to talk about his work. He knows how to talk about what he's doing and really give a better understanding of what process of painting is like. Everything that you put into a piece of whatever you're working on. Lazy work, and this is talking, looking at this, looking at my own work. When you do lazy work, it shows. And lazy work is simply putting something on canvas, in the piece, for the sake of putting it there, without direction or consideration. And that's not a bad thing. But it is something that one must be cognizant of and be willing to say it is something that you should not want to do. It's not to say that you're bad for doing it. It's not to say that you shouldn't do it. It's saying when you realize that really, if you want to improve your work, it is being engaged with the work. It is being focused enough in on the work that when you place your medium, when you place anything, you are putting it there knowing on some level what to do with it. And that helps a lot. That helps me a lot. I think it is important to also remember that saying that is with the understanding that you're not going to do that all the time. You're not going to do that all the time. You're actually not. Your two things should be do it as much as you can, be as cognizant as you can. It will save you time in the long run. And when you're not, be willing to fix it. Be willing to fix it. Be willing to recognize when you made a mistake and fix it. Not everybody's running on 100 cylinders all the time. That's a lot of cylinders to run on, but nobody's running on all cylinders all the time. Like most people, I think, especially these days, are not running on 100% almost every single day. That's not a criticism. That's a that's an observation. Um, like things are tough right now. I think everybody's feeling it too. Uh, so it is something to just keep in mind and remember for yourself and for other people that, you know, if you're working on any project, if you're working on anything or any project and get frustrated, that's okay. What's more important is, do you ever overcome that frustration? At least for me. Trust me, I get frustrated. I've been frustrated. I was frustrated by this project at least, 2 weeks ago. Who knows why? It was weird. Sometimes you get frustrated by things for seemingly no reason. Human brain sucks like that. Why ever what however the brain decided to be like, I'm gonna think about things. I wished it would have done a little bit better of a job to not get so easily distracted. That would be nice. I'm also trying to do a better job a little bit of like explaining what I'm doing right here. I'm trying to look and think about what is changing and what should change and what shouldn't change. Because one of the things, yeah, that this starts, you start to see growth in the eye. You start seeing change in the eyebrow, and I should focus on one eyebrow at a time, so that way I don't get lost. I was switching between them, and then I got a little bit confused there, and I had to readjust. I had to look at it, and then come back to it and be like, oh, that's what I was doing. Guys, if I do, should probably do. Just know I'm very well adjusted. I'm sure I have a certain level of ADD. It's fine. I think a lot of people do. Probably why I struggle a lot in actually keeping aligned in certain things where I'm like, what was I doing? Tough, man. It's tough. The big thing I'm looking for here is watching the green. And the reason why I'm watching the green is because it will inform me of what the next frame is going to do. Green tells me what the next frame is going to do, and if it's like this, where you see that it's growing, right? It's getting bigger, I need to remember. It's a little bit of brain memory training here, too. Give yourself a little bit of brain memory training. The important kind. Uh, to be able to recognize what is going to happen on the next frame. What's funny is it's easy to be like, I just am not good at that. No, that's something I could say, be like, man, I really struggle with being able to remember what's going to happen on the next frame. But I have to remember about that is teaching myself to be able to recognize that I am subject to faults that I can improve through practice and persistence. So, for me, I try to recognize when something like that is happening to be able to say, okay, that is something that I notice, and I'm like, oh, I am struggling with X, then I just need to focus on X a little bit more until I don't struggle with it as much. That's what's helped me a lot. And for me to be able to process that, takes me being willing to do a little bit of self psychoanalyzation. That makes sense. And in the process, what I end up doing, as you can tell, as you can see, is that I've now, like, I see it as I have X problem. I have X problem, right? I have a problem that I'm struggling with. The goal is to solve that problem. Now, how do I do that? And that's how I think, at least I try to come to a bit of a point with things like innovation and stuff on my own work. How I try to innovate in my work is by really trying to hone in to recognizing when I have a problem, make a mistake, have an issue, and then what I can do or what I should do to try to resolve it. But sometimes, even when you make mistakes like that, they stem from another problem. Right? So I struggle with being able to maintain some proportion because from frame to frame, I'm not paying enough mindfulness to what's changing in every frame. I'm just drawing it. I'm just drawing it, I'm drawing it, I'm drawing it. And the irony is sometimes that can be difficult. Uh, and always remember, just because something is, if you're watching and you're like, well, then you just do this, you just do X, you just do Y. Always remember everybody's different. Everybody, sometimes, as much as people want to help, totally understandable, totally normal to want to help people. There is still something to be said that the best help you can give someone is patience and support to a problem that you've solved. Make it maybe easier for the person, but understand that the person won't be able to overcome it until they figure out the solution for themselves. And that's, again, I don't believe in the concept of sink or swim, because in reality, I think that it's more like learn to fly with a parachute, with a working parachute. That's important to remember. With a working parachute, um, you know, somebody can fail and struggle at something, and that's totally fine and acceptable. And give them the space to be able to do so safely until they can actually accomplish something, which I think is direly needed in this day and age. I'm dead. Listen to me talking about this day and age. I'm having the opposite problem. Instead of whining about these dang kids, I'm just like, in this day and age, we should be better to each other. Back in my day, we were awful to each other, and we're still that way, and I fucking hate it. No, really, I actually kind of feel that way. Why aren't there more? Why aren't there? Why isn't there more older people outraged about how things sucked and they continue to suck? I think that would be. I think if there's anything that I want to be when as I get older is complain about how things still suck. To be able to be like, back in my day, we had to frickin' we had to drive everywhere. We had to drive everywhere and provide our own transportation, and we still do it. Why? Why do we still do that? The reason why I complain about that actually is, hey, controversial opinion. At least here, why is everyone expected to own a luxury item? Hot take, cars are a luxury item. They are. They are. They fucking are. Necessities should not be luxury items. Guess what? There's totally answers to this, in my opinion. You want everybody to own personal transportation. Maybe, just maybe, there should be a standard for it that's affordable until people can afford better vehicles. I guess that kind of exists with older cars, but still, you're still driving with older cars, which is its own risk. We're gonna get into that. Or, I don't know, public transport. And before you say it, you're just like, oh, well, you're just a bad driver. No. No. In fact, I love driving. I think driving as an activity is super fun. I enjoy driving quite a bit. Fucking hate other drivers. Stress me out. Because it feels like nobody wants to be on the road, but they have to be. The concept of road rage in general just stresses me out. Because when I say that, it's like, well, then you just sound like a guy who road rages. Not really. Because my whole thing is, I don't. It stresses me out that so many people drive so aggressively, to the point that it's like, if we all just chilled out and understood that we're driving cars, it'd probably be a lot safer. It would be. If people just chilled out a little bit about it, I think it would be so much safer to drive in general. Because a lot of people use driving to express aggressive emotions, which is dangerous. That's dangerous and irresponsible. When, fun fact, about me, I actually do like a good, just like, zone out drive. I love the activity of it. I love being able to chill behind a wheel. I find that driving can be very cathartic when there's no one else around. The big thing is when no one else is around, or when very few people are around, or when there are people around, we're all just going. We're all just going in sync. Like, that's ideal. No one's making anybody drive fast. No one's slowing anyone down. Like, that's perfect. And what's important to distinguish there, because I think some people who are like, well, that's the problem with people who go too slow. Well, here's the thing. I think there are also people who go too fast that expect people to speed up for them, and when they don't, they drive recklessly. That shit sucks. Because, fun fact, like, I would say most people do drive the speed limit. And then people act like people shouldn't. For some reason, I don't understand why. Makes no sense to me. And there are always excuses, but if some of those excuses are societal based, then maybe we need to be willing to have the conversation of, if it's like, well, people are being shitty, what do we need to do to try to encourage people to not be shitty? And I mean that. I mean that. Like, how do we encourage people to be less shitty? I don't know what that looks like, but I'd like to believe that it's possible. No buts. 'Cause I feel like driving is treated like this weird social minefield that the standard the standards of like learning how to drive, the standards of treating other drivers is so much always a little bit on fuck the other guy. I've had days where I forgot, like, I would say I'm about a 95% blinker user. Sometimes I forget it though, once. And if I see somebody do that, like, I would say, bleh. Usually they're not a. If I do catch myself thinking it, and they've only like missed a blinker once, I have to be like, I've missed a blinker once. It happens. You miss a blinker once. Now if they do it like 3 times in a row, then I'm like, use your fucking blinker. Like, just be aware of when you fuck up on the road, and then take accountability for that. You're not like in trouble. Just be like, oh shit, I need to be better about that, because these are things that can kill people, kill you. What's funny, and the reason why I bring this up is I had to drive out to see friends yesterday, which is fine. It does stress me out a little bit because Casey is a bit of a minefield when it comes to driving. But actually, on the way there, I experienced what I would argue is the ideal situation for when traffic gets like bunched up, because there's a particularly infamous area in KC in which traffic will typically get really bunched up, like really badly. And when you're there, it's just a nightmare. It's so bad. It is even more. There we go. I'm not seeing the. Sometimes you just gotta get in there, man. I'm literally working on just this eyebrow. I should just be focused on the eyebrow, and I need to be able to see those details, or else it's just gonna keep shrinking. Cannot see things. You're standing too far away from them. Like, there's a certain degree of error that is acceptable for this that I can only catch if I'm in there. You gotta get close. You gotta get close sometimes. That's what I'm realizing. Hello, Silos. I just want good eyebrows. Eyebrows are good. Anyways, I was driving on the way to see friends. We watched the Final Destination movie, which was quite fun. It's good. They're bigger fans of the series, but I do enjoy a good romp. It is a very good comedy horror, but that's not what we're talking about right now. That's just what we were doing yesterday. On the way there, I get a little bit stressed out about driving to KC because KC drivers make me want to feel like I'm going to die. And that's because at one point they did almost kill me. And yes, the new one. I actually don't know if I've mentioned this yet, but Sean and I think I mentioned the almost car crash that Sean and I experienced, in which somebody on my left, as I was merging on the left lane, blinker and everything, and looking, like, for a second, decided to rotate across all 4 lanes on my left as I was trying to move and almost collided with me, which made me swerve and saved both me and Sean's life, which makes me go, before anybody criticizes me as a driver, I've almost died multiple times that I averted through my ability to drive. So, but, but I digress. The thing I want to point out is I was in that area again, and it's called the Knot. And the reason why it's called the Knot is it is like a multi-lane transfer semi-highway that everybody speeds on. That's less than like 300 to 500 feet. It's not big. I don't even think it's a mile. It's not even like a mile stretch. That everybody uses as a big weird interchange for 8 different fucking highways. And I got to that, and something magical actually happened. That even though traffic kind of got to a standstill, everybody just kind of clumped together, let each other get into whatever fucking lane they wanted, and then we went. And I was like, I get it that some people are probably pissed by this. This is ideal for me, and here's why. Didn't feel like anybody was trying to kill each other. We all got to where we fucking wanted to, and we all got out of it alive. Nobody was speeding, nobody was riding. We all zippered in between each other. That's ideal. And the thing that pisses me off is that that's not normal. That's not how you're supposed to go through there. Everybody's supposed to be maintaining speed. The speed limit of that area is 45, and people are usually going 50 to 60. Ugh. And I prefer when it does that. I prefer when everybody had to slow down to figure out where they were going. That's safer. Especially in that case, when you have this, like, really dense amount of interchanges when you're getting off and on, like, and you get off on one end and have to go to the opposite end. Like, I would prefer that. It meant that people were actually cognizant of each other to be able to let people get around because there were just too many people. Ugh. Hot take. When I'm driving through areas with a lot of people pay attention to each other. So, like, I'm sure somebody out there is probably scoffing at me, and you probably drive a Ford truck, and you know what? You do get superficial judgment from me if you drive a Ford truck, because truck drivers feel like they don't care about anyone on the road, let alone themselves. And here's the thing. Here's the thing to always remember is a lot of people drive. A lot of people drive. I've noticed, or at least I think I've noticed. Maybe I'm wrong for this. I could be wrong for this. I've noticed that, or my observation is that a lot of people drive assuming one of two things. They assume that their vehicle is always safe to drive in the way that they are driving it, and that everyone else's vehicles are safe to drive in the exact same way that they drive. I have to make an admittance here. I very badly need to change my tires. I can't get my tires changed right this fucking second. I don't have another vehicle. Guess what? I have to drive that car safely. Guys, you have to go around somebody. They could be going slow for any number of reasons, both because of their vehicle and because of themselves. Don't get mad at people for going slow. Everybody has a different reason to do it. Sometimes people just don't like to drive fast. Fuck. I like to drive fast, and I don't always like to drive fast. And I can't really drive fast right now. Like, just think. Just people think when you're on the road. People turn their brains off on the road, and it scares me. It scares me how often people turn their brains off on the road. And then get mad. And they get mad. It's just terrifying, man. It's just absolutely terrifying. And I want to say this because it's something that concerns me. It's something I want to talk about because it concerns me about people. I'm worried about people. That's like acceptable behavior. It's not. To be honest, it's not. But it's treated like it is, and it's not. And it's okay that unacceptable behavior is happening, in the sense that there's no way to talk about this stuff without at least being able to say, hey, unacceptable behavior is happening, and we should want to do something about it. We should want to do something about it. Not just judge people for it, not just tell them how they're bad for doing it, but we should be like, hey, it's kind of not okay that a lot of this stuff is happening on a broader scale. Like, and just be willing to say, am I contributing to it? Because there's a chance that even I contribute to it sometimes. And that's all that I want to say is, like, be aware of yourself doing it. Be aware of yourself doing it and trying to hold that back. Hence why aside from just genuinely doing aggressive driving, like be willing to hold. Like I see people defend like when somebody's like speeding and then an accident happens, or like when somebody's trying to get around someone and they're clearly frustrated, and it's like, no, actually, no. I do not think that anyone could claim that, like, oh, get out of the passing lane. Guys, the passing lane is there for when people are going under the speed limit. And if somebody is going under the speed limit in the passing lane, that's annoying. Yes, it's a frustrating thing that happens. Still doesn't make it okay to run them off the road or run yourself off the road. You're still in the wrong. If an accident happens because you're frustrated by somebody else's driving, that's still on you. I think that's still on the person. When it could have been avoided by just being like, okay, I just need to be patient, wait till I have a chance to get around someone. Don't have to pass every. Also, the passing lane is there for a safety measure, not so that way you can pass every other person on the fucking road. It's there for when you need to pass, not because you have to pass. And again, I want to say I've been there. I've been there. What sucks though is like it feeds into it. Is usually when I get there, when I get there, it's because I'm surrounded by a bunch of things that are causing a lot of stress. Like a lot of other drivers that are stressing me out, a lot of other people that are stressing me out, and I feel a lot of pressure to keep up speed. So I do, and then I drive at unsafe speed for myself, just genuinely speaking. And then I'm stuck because people behind me are pressuring me to keep speed to continually pass people in front of me when I don't necessarily even want to, and those people aren't necessarily even going slow. And that's all. I want to be able to say, like, it's not okay when that happens. It isn't. It's not okay for me, and it's not okay for other people to do that. And it's not okay if you feel like you've been in positions where you've had to speed because other people made you have to speed, because nobody tries to pay attention to what anybody else does on the road. I mean, I do. I feel like I do. I have a very strong. It's so funny. As somebody who likes having a vehicle, well, asterisk, who enjoys driving. If I didn't have to own a car, I fucking would. If I could have just a car that could be there, that if I could go drive someplace to get my drive fix out of the way, I would do that. I would. And then never have to drive. I want. I would love walkable infrastructure. I would love, and again, I want to maintain this. I'm saying all of this, understanding the condition of the world. I'm saying this. The more that people say this, the more that you find people who will say this, that's what matters. Like, this isn't about an argument of why these things can't exist, or an argument of how these things should come to be. This is a statement of the world that I would like to see is these things being able to exist for me. The next step would be figuring out how to get there. Because I don't have that step yet. But what's more important to me right now is just being willing to say it. People should want to say what they want to see in the world. Like, you should. You should. And I think there should be allowance of, like, a discourse. Not a discourse. No, the opposite of discourse. Of being able to just be like, the world is scary. The world terrifies me. I want to see these things in the world more, irregardless if they're immediately possible or not. Because things don't become possible if we're too afraid to even want to admit that we want them. And that's what should be more of a thing. That's something I want to be more of a thing. That's something I want to utilize this platform to be able to say is like, hey, here's something that I see that stresses me out about the world. And I think it could be different. No buts. It could be different. Like this isn't this also isn't like a like, you know, being like, well, everything could be different. Yeah, everything could be different. Absolutely. Absolutely everything could be different. That's the point. If things could be different, things might be better. Things might also be worse in different ways, but they don't seem pretty good right now. Things don't improve if we're not willing to be like, things are the way they are right now, and I'm not happy with them. People aren't happy with them. Well, all that means now is, well, if people aren't happy with things the way they are right now, well, we gotta start working to change stuff. That's all. At least I would hope so. Honestly, because I missed last week, we might just zone out, kind of vibe. I might make a little bit of progress, but I might also just focus on doing a lot of cleanup. Again, I want to start doing cleanup off stream. I think that would help keep things, you know, chugging at a decent clip. It'll keep things from. It'll keep me from being worried of whether or not I'm making progress every single stream. But I mean, as long as I'm making, if I'm cleaning up, I'm making progress. If I'm making forward momentum on the animation, I'm making progress. That's really what matters. That said, being able to do cleanup off stream will help keep me motivated to keep working on this, keep me from feeling like I have to avoid these moments where I do end up like, I've noticed this. I will fixate on my cleanup because I won't want to get off the cleanup until I fix a specific thing, and because it's something like this where it has multiple frames that I have to continually clean up over the course of the piece, then I don't want to stop in the middle of it because it's going to look weird if I try to do the replay, and that's going to be no bueno for me. How dare you? I didn't make a nothing thesis. Maybe I did. I didn't. I never tell. Because again, like things do matter. Things do matter. Things do matter, but they matter so much less than people make them out to be. But they do still matter. Things matter enough because it does mean that people's lives are genuinely impacted by the things that are happening, even though the things that are happening shouldn't fucking matter. People's lives are getting impacted by the world all the time. I mean, that's why, even though we started off as kind of a shitposty part of the internet, which we did, yes, I did, never really wanted to be that mean. I think this is something that I'm learning about the world is constantly maturing because the people who are older, whether they mature fully or not, are only going to get older, and young people are only going to continue to appear and have to learn how the world works. That's a fact. Young people are always going to exist and not understand what too far is. And I think that is its own problem that's exasperated. Sorry, Sean. Exasperated. It's a hard word to say. I also could. I didn't. I think I don't remember what word I messed up last night. It was really funny. I also got scared by somebody saying hi to me, so I was okay. That was alarming because so we were leaving the movie theater after watching Final Destination 6. Quite a good movie. Again, not the topic of what we're talking about right now. We might get to the movie at some point, and I'll talk about that. But I'm trying to do better about not getting distracted about the thing I'm talking about. We were walking back to the car, head back to just hang out at Sean's place with Ari and Lauren, and we were like walking, we were discussing something, I don't remember, we were like discussing the movie, or we were talking about something that we had already been talking about, as we do, and we're just walking down the street, and a car drives by, and I just hear someone yell, "Hi!" And I was like, I like turn around because in my brain, the first thing that registered is the only person to be saying hi to me right now would be like Ari as they drive by. And I like turn around and I was like, wait a second, wouldn't Ari be driving? I actually don't know if Ari or Lauren would be driving. And it didn't sound like Lauren's voice. And like, there's this black SUV that passes as a guy's like hanging out the window, waving at me. So I was like half wave because I was like, oh, I'm gonna be, it's just my friends, I'm gonna be a goofball. And then I was just like stunned, confused, and then Sean looked at me and was like, what was that? I was like, what are you talking about? And he's like, you looked like you were ready to fight them. And I was like, well, just was confused. he was like, I didn't know you'd have such a negative response to somebody saying hi. And I was like, well, I've never been catcalled before, so I don't fucking know. I just don't know. I don't know. Maybe it was, maybe it wasn't, I don't know. Individual do be looking a lot more androgynous these days. My hair do be keep getting longer. It do keep getting prettier as I get older. Well, as I continue to not lop it off, I should be specific. I do feel like my hair is both getting longer and worse as time goes on because I'm not taking as good care of it as I should, but also because I'm getting older. Which means I just need to take better care of it. Fun fact, as you get older, you need to take better care of your body. Which is fine. Totally fine. Oh, I'm so sorry, Silos. I am lucky to be in an Asian body for that, for a lot of the things, and a lot of the things that I'm aesthetically going for these days. I'm actually quite happy I have an Asian body, and uh uh fucking US male standards can go eat a whole entire asshole. We won't have to get into it. I'm not here to talk about any of that. My firm foot is on it sucks. Regardless of how I feel about my body now, it's dumb and people should be happy with the body they have. And whatever they decide to do with it to make themselves happy with it is their fucking decision. I mean, that is its own thing. That is its own thing that I think the best discourse I have on that is to say it is understandable. It is understandable. Having a body sucks. It often does things you don't want it to do. The big thing I've learned to remember is it is still under your control. Your body is under your control. No buts. It's hard. It's difficult. It's scary. it's going to do things that you don't want it to do that happen because you age. And but ultimately speaking, we have all of the control that we can to make our bodies the way we want them to be on some level, no matter what. Whether it be cosmetic, whether it be uh, biological, whether it be sociological, like we do at least have control over some element of our body to reach a self-image that you can be happy with, hopefully. Not saying everyone can, because that is a larger topic of, things like dysphoria and stuff, and that's tough. Trust me. Trust me. Though I do think we need to have, I think there needs to be more of a social accepted consciousness of dysphoria affects a lot of people everywhere. Example, even if biologically speaking you want to be you, which is fine either way, if you do or don't, absolutely. You hate your body, that's still dysphoria. That still is. you know? Again, topic here is not to, now how do we fix this? Topic here is to say, hey, we should be talking about this shit. Or, hey, we should be at least comfortable with saying, this is something that I have to engage with on my daily day processing. Because in reality, people begin to feel more comfortable with themselves, with the things around them, when they can be like, this is something that makes me uncomfortable. Well, 50-50 on that, because then people use that to justify really awful shit. So it's still tough. It's still tough. This is why it's like, I at least want to be able to say the things that I want to put my foot down and say are not going to be anything that is going to harm anyone. Because that is not something I want to do. I want to be able to say things that are like, if you feel comfortable about something about yourself, you should be willing to be like, hey, this is something that I am uncomfortable about myself, to be able to express that, to be able to start processing it. Obviously, that kind of stuff does not justify suddenly being awful to other people. That's the big thing, is like, a lot of this is like, it should never be a justification to be shitty to somebody else. If something scares you, even if it's something shitty, maybe then the point should be, this thing scares me. Why does it scare me? Why should it scare you? Maybe you should process why that thing scares you so it doesn't scare you. There. I hope I found a way to not sound like a hypocrite. And hey, fun fact. Humans suck. Human brains suck. Humans do a bad job at explaining things. Humans sometimes say something that's contradictory. People will say I'll say contradictory things. It doesn't suddenly justify that they're contradictory. The point is if you say something or do something contradictory, you're going to, but you should be willing to account for it and correct it. So, say something contradictory, contradictory. Be like, oh shit, fuck, oops, oopsie. Let me figure out how to make it not contradictory and still be able to be like, I have a point. Oftentimes, things that are made with a contradictory premise still have a valid point that you now need to process the contradictory part to account for the thing, because oftentimes contradictory statements are simply not considering an element that you hadn't thought would apply. And that's it. Because nobody can think of everything all the time at once. Fun fact. At least I don't do that, and I don't know anyone who does. And if you do, and then use that to bludgeon things over people's heads, I still don't think you're a very good person. Or at least, I would say, my processing of that kind of behavior, I would be one to be wary of the kind of person you would. We might not get along, unfortunately. But then again, famously speaking, from my perspective, I am not super appealed by the standard of argument that a lot of people fall into. It's just not fun. Arguments to be contradictory or poke holes in people's assertions are so counterproductive to me, in my opinion, because they completely discourage any kind of discourse, and they discourage any kind of like thought at all of anything. They just, generally speaking, feel like they're there to just be like, I see that you've thought about something a lot, but clearly you haven't thought about it enough, because I've thought about it enough to show you why these very specific things about it don't work, irregardless of what you've thought about. And it's never about, hey, I noticed that you made some mistakes. These are things to consider to make your argument have more ground. And it's always this weird, ha ha, you didn't think of everything, idiot, dumbass. How could you not think of that in your long winded individual contemplation processing of a single thing? It's almost like if we worked together, if we were maybe a little bit more willing to be like, oh shit, you might not have thought of this. Maybe you should consider this, and we can come to a better understanding of the thing together. Then I think a lot of people would probably feel a lot more validated and justified in their opinions without feeling like they're attacked for simply saying something or stating something that either someone else doesn't fully agree with, or somebody notices that there might be an error. Because errors happen. Nobody thinks of everything. Nobody thinks of everything. Nobody has thought of everything. At least if they have, I haven't met them. Building on top of something else requires you to have a certain level of maturity to be able to say, I see what you are doing. I see what you are doing, and here is something you may have not considered in doing it. That's all. Because that's my perspective. And that's a big thing to remember here, everybody. I'm not here to say my perspective is actually correct. I'm just here to share it. That's a big thing to remember. A lot of times with stuff like this, we're just here sharing our viewpoint. Some viewpoints are good, some viewpoints are bad. And sometimes they come from the same people. More often than not, most people do not have a unified perspective of anything. I would say it is fairly uncommon to have a perfectly unified viewpoint of everything. Arguably, it's probably impossible. I just want to get in there, and I just want to very carefully. Again, you just have to develop a certain amount of discipline over doing a certain thing when you're doing stuff like this. You have to be willing to be less focused on going fast and just slowing down and being like, I just need to put it where I want it to be. And the thing is Mr. Ross, even though he says this, he kind of hides a little bit of expertise in the statement, in which he's like, you don't have to worry about it being perfect. That's fine. When it comes to painting and watching his process, he's half telling the truth. He's right. You're not trying to be perfect. That's fine. However, you are trying to be mindful. He wants you to be mindful, not perfect. Being mindful but not perfect implies that you're just doing your best to put something where you want it to be, but you're not trying to plan it out perfectly. You're just saying, I'm going to put this here, and then what am I going to do after that? What is the next step? What is the next thing I do? Just be mindful, be cognizant of what you're doing. Perfection, or being cognizant, does not mean you're being perfect. It just means you're being aware of where you put something. That's why I really appreciate the times when he's like, people ask me, like, what do I do if I make a mistake? What do I do if I get something wrong? What if I do if I put something in the wrong spot? And I saw him, like, show what to do by just perfectly being okay with, like, being like, well, I did do this the way I wanted it to, but if you wanted to change it, here's what you would do. And very simply, he kind of shows and illustrates a lot of what he does is he starts a little bit under what he wants and then builds up to what he wants. Because it's easier to build up to what you want than it is to remove something. It's not impossible, and he does illustrate how to do that, but it is always easier to add something to your piece than it is to take away from it. That's why it's important to be mindful, especially when it's stuff like this. One of the things I should probably do more is I should probably rotate the canvas more. That is something that I've seen a lot of other artists be like, this is something I struggle with. It is also something I struggle with. But I don't think you can really I don't think you can really rotate the canvas on a animation. I don't think you really can. My thought process there, and clarification. My thought process currently for not rotating the canvas intentionally on an animation is if you're rotating the canvas a lot, you might confuse yourself. At least if I started doing it, I would confuse myself. If you're able to rotate the canvas on an animation and you don't lose track of what you're doing, good. Good, good, good. Do it. Fucking do it. If you could do that, you should do it. If you are like me, you struggle with keeping track of stuff sometimes, especially when you're animating, and you have a hard time with continuity, which can happen. You can have a hard time with one thing and still be interested in doing the thing anyways. I think having a struggle with continuity is a bit of animating on with a handicap, because if you're like me and you struggle a lot with it, the thing to remember, the thing that I want to illustrate, no pun intended, the thing that I want to illustrate is that struggling with something should never keep you from doing that thing if you innately have either something that makes it difficult for you to do something, or if you're inexperienced. It could also just be inexperienced, because oftentimes a lot of that stuff gets trained in as you do it more. If you innately have an issue with continuity, which I sometimes do with certain parts of animation, then over time, if I'm like being aware of that, I should see me slowly at least improve at my recognition of continuity to the point that I can get it to an acceptable level, at least. That even if somebody has an easier time with continuity than I do, I can at least operate at a level that my continuity doesn't break anymore. And that's what's important to remember. Struggling with something is just struggling with it. What you want to be doing is you want to be finding the tools you need to not struggle with that thing anymore. And just because somebody else doesn't innately struggle with it doesn't mean that you can't learn how to do it. Doesn't mean that at all. Absolutely not. You can always learn how to do something your way to overcome something that other people don't seem to struggle with. I think there's also a little bit of a social faux pas that has happened that I think a lot of people are waking up to is a lot of more people struggle with things than they're willing to admit because we're all actually a bunch of animals who nobody wants to show weakness. Nobody does. We're all a bunch of scared primates banging sticks and lighting fires, hollering at each other. That's okay. That's okay. We're lucky that we can recognize that and think about it, process it. We have been gifted the ability to look at ourselves and consider things in a way that hasn't quite developed anywhere else that we know of at the moment. And we should be proud of that. The fact that what's more alarming to me is that it sometimes feels like as time goes on, people don't want to do that. It feels like people are more inclined to just be like, I want to think about nothing. Get it? I get it. Still gotta. You still gotta. Don't think about nothing. Things are just gonna keep getting not gooder. World is already kind of a messy bitch. Don't need to be making it messier. I don't plan on it. Just trying to go. Gotta keep your hands steady, and the only way you get that is by you need to slow your hand. So I've been credited for this, and I've been on both sides. You need to find over time as you continue to make a line, as you continue to make a line, a shape, whatever. You need to find the medium speed in which you can make a stroke. Make a stroke that'll keep your arm and your hand and everything in line without breaking anything. It'll keep it consistent without losing without wobble and without going too fast that you lose precision. You have to find your medium of precision, and then once you find the medium precision, then you can inch yourself faster on it, but you need to find the medium of precision. And you have to treat your medium of precision as an understanding that you're not making a line. You're not making a line. What you're doing is you are making, or no, I think I want to think about that the other way. Again, what I'm trying to illustrate here is that I'm trying to process explaining how I would go about thinking doing this. And for me, the kind of stroke work that I'm going for is you're just trying to be more aware of placing lines, placing medium, functionally speaking. And to do that, you have to be willing to really, while you are making the line, be thinking about what that line is going to do for you later. One of the things that I've noticed from Mr. Ross is he starts with a lot of darks. When he's painting, he starts with a lot of darks because he knows a lot of those darks are the base. He knows where his base is. And he places them first and then builds on top of them. And every time he adds like a highlight, he's not just smashing his paintbrush against the canvas. No, he's actually being very gentle. One thing is he's being very gentle, and he's being very careful about where he's actually putting that highlight because he understands that he only wants so much medium to get on the canvas. He only needs so much medium to get on the canvas. He doesn't need it to be thick. He doesn't need it to be a lot. He just needs enough on there that it gets what effect he wants. And then he moves on to another spot. So he's not just randomly placing his paintbrush. He's very meticulously just peppering in where he wants things to go a little bit at a time until it's to the point that he got it and want it. And when it comes to illustration, that kind of applies in that if I'm doing illustration well, when I make a line that illustrates the nose, I need to be able to know that the line that I've made is exactly where I want it. Or that I'm like, the line is appropriately placed. It is not just putting a line down, it is putting the nose in. You are thinking about how the nose itself is placed. Which, hey, that's the processing side. The active side, hard part. As it's shown, I've had to clean up and fix parts because I put them because something happened. And this is important to kind of remember in kind of a contrast here is showing this kind of work where at least if I show a little bit of cleanup, which will hopefully be less in the future, but is that's what I want to be getting to. Those are the kinds of things that I'm thinking about now, is being able to be like, actually, I can't just scribble something in. You have to, especially if you're doing something like this, you have to be much more aware. If you are not doing a sketch, don't do sketch practice. If you're not on the sketch anymore, don't be sketching. You need to be working with the idea that you are working with a certain amount of permanence in mind. You're working with the idea that your strokes, your input of medium matters. Things that you add and the things that you take away matter on a piece. I'm still running into that. Interesting. One thing I'm noticing is it is really easy to shrink things. It's just really easy to shrink things, I think. It's really easy to have size change when you're drawing something still, because if you're not enough frames out, you might not pick up that things have moved. Why I'm really struggling with this eyebrow. But I can't do stuff like that. I have to be careful. Animation is hard. This is why this kind of stuff, I do want to relegate more on my own time, some way, shape, or form. Because it's the kind of thing that, ultimately speaking, I have to do it. It's a part of my process. But it's not necessarily the most glamorous part of the process. And a lot of it, I need to just take the time on my own. Polish is a bit of an uphill battle with anything. Like, when you're unscrambling parts of an animation and whatever, because so much of it is like trying to like just sand. It's just sanding. Why it's polishing. Just adding a little bit, taking away a little bit to everything until it actually moves the way you want it to. It's still crazy to me how much mass is lost every single time just because I didn't quite get enough. That's still wild to me. Like, how does it lose that much? It doesn't feel like it should. Makes me wonder if there's something weird going on with the program, but it doesn't feel like it necessarily. Here, I just need to focus on fixing this. I will lose my mind doing that. This is also why I do want to focus the actual animation bit, like the live part, to the forward motion stuff, because that kind of stuff you could do forever. This kind of stuff you could do forever, and what I need to focus on is developing what I need. Developing what I need without necessarily getting stuck. Which is a challenge. I easily am going to probably end up spending about 2 hours on this when I didn't mean to, but we're getting back into it. This might just be a cleanup day, just because I am feeling a cleanup day. I was not here last time. Means we'll just be fixing a lot of this. I know I've been talking a lot too. Good. Speaking a bunch. I also should say that I probably will hit about, I don't think we're going to go for 4 hours, just because I want to have a little bit extra time in the afternoon. I got to go do some chores and stuff, maybe. Maybe. Or just have some free time, I don't know. Trying to find excuses to have free time. I need to figure out a time to do some some genuine exercise. Honestly, I should be trying to find that at least every other day, but for now I'm like, start with once a week. I need to start with once a week. If I can't even do once a week, then fuck. Which is no buts. That's something I'm struggling with right now, actually. Is trying to find the time to to get in a workout schedule of some kind. I want one. No buts. I want one. I actually want to do some working out because I want to. I don't want to like get fucking jacked. I don't want to get thick. I don't want to. I just want to be fit. I want to be athletic. That's what I want, and I know what it takes to get that. There's no buts to it. It's got to start doing stuff. I am capable of and want a more athletic build. It's just what I want. I think it would be good for me, both health wise and body image wise. It would be good for me. No buts. Fun fact, working out is good for you. That's good. Oh shit. Do I? No, because that stayed relatively in the same spot. Now it starts moving up. Okay. So, now this is the hard part. I have to kind of consider this, actually. I'm going to just weigh up that a little bit. Right? Again, to a certain extent, I'm not looking for perfection, but I am looking move it just slightly. Just slightly. It's an object. Think of it as like an object. So you have to draw it or redraw it, understanding that the object moves. So even if you do like what I did, where I'm like, okay, I put the object there where it was, but the object is going to move, then I need to adjust it. I need to adjust the object's position slightly. I need to be paying attention to how it moves to make sure that it doesn't move in a way that is unnatural or breaks its proportions. This is going to be difficult because we have this. I'm going to go to the next frame. Because now we're starting to move the eyebrows. I'm going to delete the whole eyebrow. Not happy with it. Delete your art. Eyebrow is kind of arch up a little. Just gotta start somewhere. You just gotta place a reference point. You gotta place a reference point somewhere, somehow. And you just gotta be aware. You gotta use your brain. You gotta use your brain a little bit. Think about the reference you're thinking of. Think about how it's moving. One of the things that Mr. Ross talks about as a comparison of how his work works is like he's constantly thinking about light and the placement of objects. He's thinking about light and the placement of objects. And that's something to really consider is that he takes his time to really examine it while he's working. He's not just putting something random. Okay. A little bit bigger. A bit longer. I had to do more stuff like that. That is something that I have a bad habit of not doing enough. Animate, don't make lines for me. Don't make lines for me that don't make sense. I didn't want to line that like that. Again, eyebrow. I've also kind of made a change here, because I was posting a lot on Patreon, but I honestly don't know how much good that was doing. And the reason why I bring that up is because I think I started off really wanting it to like start picking up, but the problem is I don't know what even gets people to find Patreons other than your work itself, which is fine. That's not a complaint. That's just me saying like I'm trying to figure out how that works. And for a while I was making a post every single time I made something to just kind of like start building a backlog. But I kind of realized one, that's a lot of work. It is a lot of work to keep up with. So, and I don't know if it's necessarily even that necessary, right? I don't think you need to be doing that much personally. I think you need to be. So if I want this, sorry, thinking about how things are moving. But the reason why I bring that up is I was trying to like really build something for people to like look at the Patreon, but I'm like, I don't think people really do that. I don't think anybody who uses Patreon for their content is using it for the paid content. So it's like, well, I guess I don't need to be making a post every single time I do something just for an update. But it was a thought. I was like, maybe it'll help because analytics are a weird spot right now in general on the internet. Is weirdly enough, it felt like there was a period of the internet that I somehow lived through and missed through my own mismanagement of myself, which I still regret, but you know what? Fuck it. Just sometimes have to move on, keep moving forward. Is that there was a period that I participated in where it was easier to be seen. It was easier to be found. I did, and I wasn't utilizing it. Wasn't. I didn't know how. I wasn't mature enough. I didn't understand what to do. And now I'm like, shit. And now I have to admit, I probably am trying to do things that would have worked when they worked. And I need to figure out what will work now. And I need to find a way that'll both make me happy and also not feel like I'm soul crushingly selling myself to the internet. Like I want to find a medium. The part of that is finding that. The part of this process has been trying to find that. I don't think I'll ever give up swearing, so if I can still reasonably say the fuck, I will. But there is a part of me that's like, I do want to figure this out. I don't necessarily want to make child-friendly content. We're not really here for that. Not to say that children. That's the thing is, there's a difference between. I also think there's a difference between content that I would be worried that children were watching and content that's not child oriented. I don't want to make child oriented content ever. That's just not what I'm interested in. You're a kid out there watching this. I can't stop you, and I'm not going to do things I would like to believe that I would say are going to be like, wow, kids shouldn't watch this. But we're not kid focused. We're not making kid friendly. We're not making child content. But as somebody who was once a child on the internet, children are going to see things on the internet anyways. But it doesn't mean I now need to make it for babies. But also, that's my own thing that I'm trying to struggle with a little bit on the internet is being like, I know that kids are going to be on the internet. I was a kid on the internet. Kids are continuing to be on the internet because the internet is going to be here. How do I figure that out? Do I figure that out is the question. Also, welcome back. How does one figure that out? Because I definitely am not interested in making child-friendly content, but I do understand being like, I can't just say I am anti-kid watching my shit. Like, because kids are gonna watch my shit anyways. Kids are gonna watch shit anyways. They're gonna be on the internet. They're gonna see things. So I think maybe finding at least a medium to be like, hey, you cool babies, as they call them. It's not meant for kids. This isn't meant for kids. Just know that it's not meant for kids. If anything, adult parents, this isn't meant for kids. I'm not going to do anything that I'm going to hope is going to be harmful to your kids, but I'm not going to censor myself because kids are going to hear it anyways. So just know I'm doing my best. I'm doing my best. There are kids on the internet. I don't know what to do about them. They probably shouldn't be there. It's the real answer. I shouldn't have been on the internet. Nobody as a kid should have been on the internet. But we're here, and we're not going away. They're not going away either. I'll think of it this way. This is not a place for kids, but I'm not going to be antagonistic to children, I guess. Unless we're playing Pokemon Go, which is a game about being antagonistic to children to a certain extent, in my opinion. As somebody who's played a little bit of Pokemon Go with my friends, it felt like a game about being antagonistic to children. But then we ran into other sweats, so, you know, it goes both ways. The sweats find each other eventually. But because it was largely more of a younger audience-oriented game, it did feel like a game about uh, uh, being antagonistic to children. Well, let's see if my work paid out. That's more consistent. That's more consistent, which was what I was going for. I was going for more consistency. I wanted to fix the proportions. It was bugging me. They still kind of shrink a little bit, which means I need to continue polishing. That's why it's polishing. But it's a little bit better. It's a little bit better. There's a little bit less wobbliness in the face. That is something I have to remember. Here, this is something I'm going to start doing. I need to remember is when I'm doing this, I had it saved somewhere. Which I might not have it anymore. And if I don't, I need to save it again. I don't. It was a while ago. It was like half a year ago. Animators survive. I should just get a copy of this. Okay, the Animator's Survival Kit. We're going to go to... I should have this open just so that way I can pull a page if I'm thinking of it. Because I haven't read it front to back, but I have read enough of it that I'm like, there are things about in it that I already think about all the time when I'm doing work. So to be able to be like, hey, here's my reference point for why I'm thinking about it this way is I will think about it, and then I'm going to turn to the page of the Animator's Survival Kit, and then we're going to discuss something that is why I'm thinking about it the way that I'm thinking about it, which is right now I'm thinking about a part of the Animator's Survival Kit where they discuss the pros and cons of drawing frame to frame, drawing straight ahead and drawing frame to frame animation, which there are pros and cons. And there's a really good page about it. I'm trying to find it right now that that makes a little graph and illustrates the pros and cons of drawing straight ahead versus drawing frame to frame. Now I'm trying to find it at the moment. I don't know what page it's on. I should probably bookmark certain pages, but I know what it is. I know what it is. Yeah. There's timing. Okay, here we go. Straight ahead versus pose to pose versus combining them. So the straight ahead method, the advantages are we get a natural flow of fluid, spontaneous action. That's how we got things like that. Whereas grabbing, that was the straight ahead animation. It has the vitality of improvisation. It's very creative. We go with the flow, taking all of the actions as they come along, as you can feel that, right? Like you get the idea in the sense that like as I'm going ahead, because there's no point that I'm really working to. There's kind of a point I'm working to. I would always at least leave an end pose to end on, I think, is where I've gotten with this. But largely speaking, I'm doing straight ahead animation. I'm going from that's pose to pose. which is me starting at one pose and then drawing straight ahead until I reach the other pose, regardless of how many frames it takes. Often the unconscious mind starts to kick in, like authors saying their character tells them what's going to happen. It can produce surprise magic. I love that. This is why I love the animator's survival kit. Is there's moments like that where he's like, it produces surprise magic, and it's fun. That's the other advantage. He literally says it's fun. The disadvantages: things start to wander. Things start to wander. That is something I have noticed. Eyebrows, for example, as we're talking through this, to kind of process, is like I had to go back and redraw those eyebrows because they just started getting too big, they started getting too small. Time stretches and the shot gets longer and longer. Characters grow and shrink. Characters grow and shrink. That is exactly what I was running into, is characters grow and shrink. We tend to miss the point of the shot and not arrive at the right place at the right time. Animation is about timing. Animation is about timing. And if you want to time something, I typically find that when it comes to my straight ahead, I always bear in mind that my action still needs to take up a certain amount of time. So what I process is I say, I'm working at 24 frames per second. That means I know how long I want something to be, because I know how many frames it will take to get there. But because I'm doing largely straight ahead, that means I have to constrain myself. Kill him, Silos! Anyways, I'm going to continue, and if you don't get them by the time I finish this anecdote, I'll get them myself. But as I'm drawing straight ahead, I'm at least cognizant of the endpoint. And usually for me, what feels the most natural is it's all about timing, but the timing that I go for is that timing is imperfect. Nothing is perfectly timed. The most natural things feel timed appropriately within a few milliseconds, right? Like it could be a little longer, a little bit shorter, gives it a little bit more texture when you do that. That's kind of my philosophy that I'm working on, that I'm trying to build to like get to the point of imperfect timing. Is what I want to focus on for my animation. The director hates us because he or she can't see what's happening. Luckily, I don't have a director. I'm the director. And the director hates it because it takes a long time. It's lots of work to clean up the mess afterwards, and it's hard to assist. Case in point, let this be a lesson of hubris, right? Let this be a continued reanalyzation of, I knew that, and yet I still did this. And look, in practice, it's here. You can see the disadvantage, and that's why it's a disadvantage. It doesn't mean the advantages don't matter. It doesn't mean it's bad to do this. It means if you're gonna do this, this is what you have to account for. This is the problem you will run into. This is what I've run into. I had to go back and redraw the eyebrows again. And it looks better now. It looks good. I had to essentially redraw that entire animation, and I had to put a lot of work on me. So in the future, I need to figure out how to cut that down. Maybe I need to do more generalized poses, or I need to sketch out poses in between to be able to do tweens. We'll see. There's a process I need to figure out there. It's expensive. The producer hates us. Yeah, the director hates you, and the producer hates you. In this case, the producer is me also. The producer hates us not because it's expensive, but because if we're going to talk about it from a producer standpoint, it does mean that I'm spending more time on this, and the faster it can get done, the better for me. Because it means I can get that out, Silas can do that thing, I can get the content out, and ideally speaking, for me right now in this growth period of my life, as the producer and the director, the producer hates this because every day I spend more working on this is one day longer it takes for me to get it out. So yes, the producer also hates this. And it can be hard on the nerves. Mad artists and... Wait, it can be hard on the nerves. Mad artists and nervous breakdowns... breakdown time as we creatively leap in and thrash around in the void, especially with looming deadlines. I felt that. I felt that a couple weeks ago. I was like, this applies to this point because I was just, my brain can't do this today. I don't know the forward momentum. I don't know where to go with this. That's why, luckily, kind of with the process to get to the other two, to say how this comes back to the well, I guess that was post to post, or that wasn't post to post. That was straight ahead. The mixture of the pose to pose in is I usually have an end pose that I'm always kind of working towards, right? I'm trying to work towards a pose. And that helps. That helps a lot. And maybe I need to start interspersing more poses. I didn't know. I didn't realize that I wasn't putting in enough poses. I was putting a pose that was too far away from the point that I wanted it to be. So, because the difference for pose to pose is that pose to pose implies that you have a reference point that you're working towards. It means that you know you're working with the in-between action, right? Like you know what you're going to, so you just need to get from point A to point B. And that's a lot easier to conceptualize because you have a point of reference. You have a point of reference for that. And for that, examples, the advantages of them, we get clarity. The point of the scene is nice and clear. It's structured, calculated, logical. We can get nice drawings and clearly readable positioning. It's in order. The right things happen at the right time, in the right place, and the overall time allocated. The director loves it. I'll admit, the director's pretty indifferent in this case. The director, me, is like, I'm more interested in the punchiness. I'm more interested in the texture of animation. So the director is like, if you can do it, definitely do it. It'll help. That's how the director feels. It's easy to assist, which means somebody else can work on it. I don't have anybody else working on it, so it's a quick way to work. And it frees up. It frees us up to do more scenes, and it is because it means like you have some. So if this was a larger animation project and it had multiple animators working on it, if I was working on the poses, I would be working on the poses probably on 8s or something, or like work on the 16s to work on 8s or something like that. So that way, you have a bunch of reference points for a bunch of key poses that you could pass on to somebody else to work on the 2s and the 4s. Because then all they're working on is the in-between action. That's it. That's all they're doing. It's a little bit more efficient that way. And the producer loves us. The producer does love it because it means it's going faster. It means I'm making progress. It means like I'm feeling like I'm having forward momentum constantly happening on the project. So yes, I agree with that. I absolutely agree with that. The producer loves when I can do good pose to pose because it means there's forward momentum and I can move on with the animation. Absolutely, the producer loves that. We keep saying our hair isn't standing on it. Yeah. Because you know where you're going. You don't feel lost. You don't feel like you even if you can't figure out what to do next, you at least are like, I just need to do what's in between. It's not as stressful on the brain. We earn more money as we are seen to be responsible people and clearly not mad artists. See, this is what I love. If you are interested in animation as a medium, as a thing, the survival kit, the animator survival kit is really good because it's just got a lot of good information in there, and it's clearly just made by somebody who's passionate and made by somebody who's a person. They're a person. Richard Williams does a really good job of making it feel personable. Producers have to deliver on time and on budget, so brilliance is not rewarded as much as reliability. Harsh truth. He's not wrong. I have to remember that. Which is why my point is this whole thing is to train myself to find that medium of I want my punchiness, I want my texture. Am I getting it done? I still think that's important. I still think that's important for me, is to be like, am I getting there? Am I getting that medium that I want? Because that his whole point in the next point is to combine both the two together, and I'm trying to find my way to combine the two together to make sure that I'm I'm getting that punchiness and that feeling that the animation is making progress without dwelling too much on the eyebrow. Still gonna do it. I have to fix the other eyebrow eventually. I'm gonna do it anyways. But I want to do get to that point. And this is the stage that I'm at with my animation, with my process, with how I do things, that I'm trying to curve the top down and the bottom up until I get to that middle point. Maybe no artist, no animator gets to that perfect middle point, but they get close. They curve it down enough that it's to a point that it's manageable for them, that they're making their progress, that they're making their budgets if I get to that point. But like, it is something to consider. Things still take time. Time takes money, no matter what, how the world works right now. We wish it would work a little bit more kindly for it, but it does still work that way. And we need to find, in my opinion, we need to curve that up a little bit. I think we need to curve that up and down a little bit. I think we need to chill out a little bit on the producer side, the top end and the bottom end, to understand, like, hey, if people are hitting a minimum, that's fine. And when they're in a place that they can maximize higher than that, that's great, and you capitalize on it and not expect people to do it 100% of the time, all the time. That's just me. So the disadvantages, though, of pose-to-pose is and it's a big but, you miss the flow, right? Like, you lose texture. There's actually something to be said that there's such a thing as too much polish. There's such a thing as too much polish. I would maintain that. Anything that I work on, I want to add a little bit of texture, because if you polish something you can never perfectly polish anything, but if you polish it too much, you lose any kind of feeling. You lose that, you lose the abrasion of a piece of medium when you polish it too much. And having a little bit of abrasion is what gives something that flavor, that notable recognizability behind it. Because texture is the imperfections, the acceptable imperfections that make you, whether you like them or hate them, make you remember it. There is bad texture, there is good texture. Not all texture is good, but if it leads you to remember whatever you're working on, whatever you're seeing more, then the texture succeeded. Even if you fucking hate it. Even if you hate it, the texture still succeeded, because the texture got you to remember something. It stuck. The texture stuck. It didn't slide off your brain. When you polish something too much, it slides off. It does. It makes sense. It conceptually makes sense, right? Like, if you have nothing to really, like, hold on to with a piece, it won't stick. It won't stick. And having a little bit of having that abrasion there to be able to have it stick is what I think most artists strive for. It's at least what I strive for, is abrasion that sticks. The action can be a little choppy and a bit unnatural. That kind of goes into just, and that's probably more of an issue with the assistants, of like them just doing the tweens and not thinking about the overarching motion. Whereas when you're working on a piece from start to finish and you're doing it, you're a little bit more in tune. You're a little bit more in tune because you know what you want to happen next. But if you have somebody who's working on your piece to do tweens and stuff, which is a part of the animation process, it is why it's still a team thing. It's easy to have a difference of perspective, opinion, mood affect something. And if we correct that by adding a lot of overlapping action to it, can go easily the other way. Wait. And if we correct that by adding a lot of overlapping action to it, it can go easily the other way and be rubbery and squishy and equally unnatural. Yes. Really, it's polish, it's polish, it's polish. It's polishing, it's over polishing, and then repolishing and repolishing. It can be too literal, a bit cold-blooded, and no surprises. Exactly, it's too clinical. Where's the magic? Where's the texture? I need my coffee. Coffee. Boy, I needed to pay attention there. I almost spilled coffee all over myself because, like, what if I move it closer to the microphone so we get coffee ASMR? And then I was like, that's a bad idea. That's over my keyboard. That's over my drawing thing. That's over so much stuff. And it was already so full by the time I had that thought that if I would have started moving, I was like, oh shit, I need to stop pouring soon. Sorry about that, everybody. I almost ruined everything. So I also, just in the process of this, able to talk about animation. Being able to discuss this in the future, I will try to continue working while I'm doing it. I need to remember this. I need to bookmark. First off, I need to bookmark this page. It did. And every time we animate now, I'm going to open up the animator's survival kit. And if I'm thinking of something, I might try to, if I need to continue reading it. So I have another book that I'm going to start reading again. But I need to finish it. So that way in the future, if I think of something while I'm working on it that reminds me of it, I can pull it up. We can go to that page and I can talk about what's going through my mind as I'm working. Because I don't know. I think a lot of animators, a lot of people who are artists, a lot of people who do work in art are not talk people, which is fine. Not everyone's talk people. I am. And it helps me process what I'm doing. It helps me be better at what I'm doing to be able to process my work. And I would love to be able to process it for people who might be struggling or might not know what to do. I want this to be as much for people who have an interest in art and animation as I do. So maybe I do that for other things. Maybe I start looking into. I'm gonna see if there are any paleo artists or scientific illustrators who've done guides like this, and be able to pull one up and be like, okay, what do they have, or be able to like look at a reference and be like, okay, process the reference live. That's something I want to do more. To which I have to give credit, Mr. Ross. Mr. Ross really helped me with this because I was already on the way to do this. Let's be honest. I already talk way too much anyways about what I'm doing all the time. That's not that's not neither here nor there. Everybody knows this. If you're watching this and if you're watching this and you're new and you're like, why does this person talk so much? Welcome. I still maintain, what are you doing here if on Twitch in general, if you're like, why does this person talk too much? Not to say that everybody who watches Twitch watches somebody who talks a lot, just why would you be surprised that there is a Twitch channel about talking a lot? There are Twitch channels about all sorts of things. Why would one of them, the one that would be the most surprising would be the person who talks a shit ton? I don't know. I don't know what that line is. Sorry. I saw that and was like, what that line was about. Now, what I want to do is I want to kind of overestimate a little bit of stretch. Just a little bit. This will probably be a few frames. This will be like 3 or 4 frames, which is why that disadvantage doesn't really oftentimes affect me that much, because a lot of times I find that my work, I end up, generally speaking, I end up being pretty on time with anything that I do anyways. Like, I do, what's funny is I struggle with continuity sometimes, but actually, timings of things, how long it takes for something to happen, I'm very confident on, usually. It's not to say I'll never fuck it up. I've fucked it up. I fucked it up in this animation, or I've had to fix it. Remember, being confident in being able to do something doesn't mean you'll never fuck it up. Being confident that I'll be able to do it, however, means I have the confidence to know that I can do it, and that I know I can do it, and that I have about a hit rate of 70, 80%, which is well above half. So I would say it's pretty good. I would say it's pretty good. I would say it's that's just here's the thing. This proportionally is going to move up a little bit. So I really think here how everything moves. Best way to do that. You gotta use other things as guidelines sometimes. Gotta try with some stuff until something sticks. Something like that. And really, this is just for reference. That's to be like, okay, that's where that goes. Having reference points like that helps a lot sometimes with stuff like this. And this is a little bit more that way, right? Sometimes you can't just work off the onion skin is what I'm noticing. You just gotta do back and forth sometimes like this to get it to work. Now, oh, that's what's happening. I see what's happened. Got a little bit more. Again, I'm trying to move the object. I'm gonna do that to make sure that proportion-wise things are actually moving. If I want it to move the way that I'm imagining. Which is difficult. This is gonna be actually quite tough. And one of the things I'm kind of noticing that I'm struggling with right here is that this line needs to move more. This line needs to show more deviation somehow. It either needs to go down more, or it needs to be straighter. I don't know what it needs, but it definitely needs to move. That needs to go more that way. That's better. This. A little bit of rotation in the shoulder there. This moves up. Acceptably there. That way. It a little bit. I'm going to try this. We're going to try moving the hair perceptibly forward a little bit. What I might do, so we have this, right? I'm going to draw the tween. Like this. I have kind of an idea. And it's follow through. That's a big thing, is follow through is super important. Animation with a lot of things. Motion of follow through is really, really challenging. It's a strange thing. Because follow through is all about like keeping track of where something is going, if that makes sense, kind of. In the case of animation, follow through is like nothing just dead stops. Nothing just dead stops. Like, nothing holds perfectly still while something else moves. Everything follows through with the motion of something. So, a lot of times, kind of my thought process is even if we have active motion like this, right? So the follow through is there's motion through the entire body as it moves. So, as you'll see, there'll be very subtle bits of like of repositioning of certain things in the direction that the main motion is going, just to give it a little bit more, feeling as it is pushing through, and you'll see that. Because even when you catch something, your body isn't holding still. Even if you're staying in place, if you plant your feet and you hold still and you catch something, you kind of feel like your body jolts forward, even just imperceptibly slightly. Just like such a little amount. And that little amount still matters. Still matters. You still, if you can feel it, then it matters. And it's those small imperceptible animations that actually, for me, add the texture you need to make animation really, really pop. I want to follow the edge of that. And again, I want to be using previous bit as a reference point. You want to zoom, ooh, maybe not that much. You want to zoom in, and when it comes to this stuff, you just got to be looking how it moves. Main reason I did that is because I will fix the rest of it, but I'll need to I'll need to I'll need to do that over time. So that's the big thing is hopefully in the future I'll be like cleaning up more and it won't matter as much if I stop in the middle of my cleanup if I have to for any given thing. But for this, it's like if I start cleaning up, I really have to clean up all the way to a point that I can continue working again. Because it'll just mean I'm going to be working off of a bad reference point. And I want to be working with the best reference point I can give myself at any given time. So, and it'll just look better. It will just look better. I'm also going to try to zoom in a little bit more. Again, I find that I zoom out a little bit too much. Sometimes you need to just focus in on an area. Whether even if so if I'm like zoomed out like this, I need to be in there, buddy. I need to be willing to look at what I'm doing. That way, I can make adjustments if I need to. Like that. Right now, I'm just trying to adjust your eyes to focus in a little bit more. Everything else should stay the same, though. I have to remember my shortcut. Goal here is I need to make the line as correct as possible. Then, if I do this right and then I get faster at it, the goal is I just do my line right. Got in. Right? Okay. Fill. Done. Matters is I got the shape right. I got the shape right because it's going to be filled in anyways. Fill. You gotta just drop it in. You just gotta drop it in. It's a tool. It's a tool. Use the tool in the right circumstance to save you time. In this case, I think I want the proportion to stay, but maybe we'll change some stuff. We'll see. For now, I'm going to put that there. It'll suck. I'm going to have to change this eyebrow, but I don't know what I would want to change it to. Actually, you know what? I'm going to make a hard decision. I'm going to make a hard decision here. I know what I want to change it to eventually. I need, proportion-wise, something more. Like this. Unfortunately, it'll shrink, but I want it to. I want it to because it'll fix it in the long run. It'll fix it in the long run. This is my new reference point, and I'll be able to clean up everything behind it. Gonna stay the same. Just be willing. Get in there. Sometimes I have to be willing to get in there. Put it how you want it to be. What's funny is I feel like I developed a lot more interest in a canvas painting because not having to rotate the canvas saves me the effort of having to rotate the canvas, even though in a lot of ways probably rotating the canvas would help since certain strokes are a little bit easier to do. Sometimes you don't always have the benefit of it. Oh, why did you do that? Amateur animate. Now I do wish I understood why animate sometimes was like, are going to we're going to that way. Sorry, I'm thinking. Yeah, so here's what we're gonna do. I need a point of reference here. This is going to bend out. I want it to move forward a little bit. So this will be the point. This will be the point. You'll see. Do it right. You'll see if I do it right. Whole thing. Now, make a line, connect the dots. Because this is digital, don't get it on the first stroke. You just keep trying until you get it. Really try to Bob Ross that right there. Well, you know, if you're doing this on digital, if you're doing digital art, which most people are these days, totally allowed to just be like, screw it, make the line right, do it again. You just got to keep trying until you get the line you want. That's the benefit of it being digital. You do not have to overall be as dedicated to something because you can quickly undo it. It's good. Good thing. It is a very good. Okay, so it all swung out that way. And with illustration in this, you could always start with something like that where you have kind of a finer line. You have kind of a finer line, and then you add a little bit more to it. And now, see how it's like, but it feels like it's stiff, right? Her body feels stiff. Here comes the magic. Here comes the fuel. Now what we do, kind of using the hair as actually a reference point. This is where it'll be helpful to use the hair as a reference point. So it's a little. Need to get in there. Pick something. You actually have to get close enough to see it. That's relatively right. So, it seems a little stiff, right? Make contact. Grab the whole thing. Nudge it. Just so that way perceptibly you have that feeling of motion. Even though the main motion is in her arm, you feel a little bit of nudging in the rest of her to be like, oh, okay. So then we'll look like this. That already gave a lot more. Just a lot. You just feel like there's some follow through there. It helps. It helps. Do it again. Think. Let's see. We're starting to decelerate. You're beginning to decelerate. I don't know what it changed. Oh, that's what I changed. I don't know why it wasn't letting me redo it, but apparently I did something that prevented me from being able to redo it. Start doing that. Portions here that are going to be important are actually around here. This is the part that doesn't. The part that squishes the most is the thing that's the farthest away from the focal point of motion. That's the thing that squishes. The thing that squishes the least. The thing that squishes the most is, yes, the thing that squishes the most is the thing that's farthest away from it because it's being drug behind or being drug through or being somehow manipulated away from the point of reference the most. A little bit of twisting. Just a little. This is a reference point there. This I want all to move down a little bit. Honestly, I should do that. This is not experiencing really any squash and stretch. Maybe some light flexing of the arm, but nothing too crazy. Like that. Love drawing hands. I love drawing hands. I don't know why. Like I said, I feel like I'm in the lucky camp. People who draws a hand and goes, I like drawing hands. A lot of people out there look at hands and go, I fuck hands. Lucky. A lot of people dislike drawing hands. That was weird. I want it to proportionally be down a little bit because it's swiping. It's the deceleration. I'll have more motion in it in other places. Oftentimes with animation, you just simple is still best. You want to be doing there's literally a a phrase in the animator's survival kit that one of the bits of the survival kit is just good plain good drawing. Let me see if I can find it. Give me 1 second. I'm sorry, Richard. This is sorry. This is one of the first lessons he gives. Lesson one: unplug, unplug. Take off your headphones. Turn off the radio. Switch off the CD. Turn off the tapes. Close the door. Like many artists, I had the habit of listening to classic music or jazz while working. One of my first visits to Milt Call, he asked Milt, "Do you ever listen to classical music while you're working?" Their response: of all of the stupid goddamn questions I've ever heard, I never heard such a stupid question. It's pretty good. I'm not smart enough to think more than one thing at a time. You know what? Fair enough. It is a distraction. It's the whole point is like try to eliminate distractions. I just, as you can tell, surrounded by them. Literally using the book as a distraction is all that it's trying to say, is try to eliminate distractions. And that's fair. That is fair. And I think that it is a valid thing. It's a valid perspective that I don't necessarily subscribe to. Like, it's okay to be like, yeah, I get it. Yeah, it does help me sometimes. Though sometimes it's hard to. The opposite. When it is too quiet, I feel like I'm gonna go crazy. I think I need a little bit of noise. Which I think that's probably just showing that a little bit more complexity to people's psychology. Probably as he pointed out, he even listened to music, but the guy that he spoke to, like, can't. It's too distracting. Things can be too distracting. And I think the point there to kind of like to pull it a little bit back, to be like, okay, a little softening is reduce distractions. If something is genuinely distracting you, you probably need to not focus. You probably need to eliminate it. You probably need to remove it from your space because it's just distracting you. It's just keeping you from doing the work. But it is understandable to need a little bit of stimulus if you need it. Like, if you need something in the background to keep you focused, that's equally something that you need. Put as much into something that will keep you focused on it without completely distracting you from it. Obviously, you have ADHD or easily distracted by things. Like, ironically, from my understanding, with how we've begun to understand a little bit better how the human brain works when it comes to ADHD and distractibility, is that having a little bit of a sub distraction that will keep you focused on something helps. Just helps. So, you have a distraction that's a net positive on your focus, obviously do it. But he brings up a fair point. You can only be distracted by so many things, which I think we're at a point that everybody understands that. Like, you can't have too many distractions. Too many distractions, you won't get anything done. You just have to have the right amount of distraction if you're somebody who's easily distractible. I mean, look at me. I went on a tangent and talked about animation for probably around 20 minutes. That's too much distraction. Means I need to dial it back. That means I got distracted there trying to find something. It's funny, I thought I found it. Maybe I didn't. Literally an appendix. Let's go to that and see what it says. Drawing time to draw. Page 23. Except I think I went too far. Drawing time, followed by time to draw. This section is really for classical animators. However, I've been surprised to find that most of the leading computer animators draw rather well. When you're doing cartoons all the time, life drawing is the antidote to this. Just draw. There's literally a part of animation that is draw good, which seems pretentious, but they're not wrong. And all they want to say by that is just say, remember, half of animation, if you're doing 2D animation, is drawing. So, and as I've kind of pointed out, as I've been working on this, that has helped me actually quite a bit with my animation, with the process of animation, has been being able to utilize what I learned from animation to drawing, because a lot of my animation has been a lot of drawing things over and over again. And in being able to draw things over and over again, it gives me a lot of practice being able to make things and draw things. So, to a certain extent, I've kind of enabled that through animation by utilizing the repetition of drawing and animation to inform my repetition in drawing other things. So it kind of takes that assertion of draw gooder, and really does put it in the perspective of like, no, I'm only draw gooder because animation has helped me really knuckle down and draw repetitively in a way that I've never really even sat down and done myself. Because for animation and drawing, the best way to get better at it is to do a lot of it, just to keep doing it. The more you do it, the better you will get at it. So it seems simple, but it's silly that oftentimes those silly things are sometimes the things that we forget matter the most. Simple is best. Is best. Always remember that. I want to keep this relatively the same. I really need to get in there. I want to get the lines correct. Oh, okay. Good. Okay. That should minimize most of the warble. Because that's the thing, is like, as they pointed out, warbly shrinking, growing happens a lot. The thing that I want to do is if I'm drawing straight ahead to minimize it, I just need to get in there, man. Because to a certain extent, there's no way to do a pose to pose without at least having a reference point to start from to get to. So to reduce that warbliness, I just need to proportionally be cognizant, especially when things are holding still. Be better about that. And I think up a little bit more at it's a slight. I just want a slight increase. I don't want it to do much. And this is something I'm learning is how to keep everything that I'm actually drawing on screen in perspective when I do it. So that way when I do it, I'm keeping everything I need where I can actually see it. See that? Even I have some warbliness. It happens. That means I'm both using a stroke that I am not super comfortable with, and I'm just drawing the line too far. Sometimes you got to know a limit of how far you draw out something. You just got to do it a little bit. I very much am a palm rester. I rest my hand on the canvas a lot, which is probably not that bad for digital art, but that's why the funny little I lost my glove again. I was like, oh, I can't lose this. I immediately lost it. Then I was like, oh, dude, I gotta use this all the time now. Gone again. Ain't that just the way? I'm I'm a nightmare sometimes. I think we all are though. Ain't that just the way? when you're this far away, it's a little bit more difficult. You do have to just zoom in enough to be able to track where you actually want things to do. Have to puff up a little bit. Give it a little bit more springiness. She's going to drop ever so slightly. She's going to drop ever so slightly. This. Take that one. Take the whole layer. Up and down. I like that. Like that dynamic scratchiness, but we're not. This is something, again, it's not about getting sketchy with it. It's about actually really being like, no, where is the best place for those lines to go? You want to be thinking about how to add that texture, not just adding texture for the sake of texture. Responsibly applied texture matters. That's something I'm getting better at a little bit too. I'm not the best at it. I definitely have struggled with responsibly placed texture. Love how quick that is though. Again, 1, 2, 3, 4, probably 5, probably 4 to 6 frames is what I'm gonna guess is going to feel like the right timing for it. Little bit, little bit of bounce, a little bit. Add a little bit of details there. It's relatively the same size. And it's funny when it comes to like doing that, right? Where you're like keeping things generally the right size or shape or whatever you're trying to do. You you have this kind of like feeling where you're making a motion, and I will admit, with the like kind of going back to the focus thing and how it's like, how do you keep your hand so steady? You just really it you really have to train your body. It's a lot about training your body to like be able to keep that steadiness. And it's hard. It's hard. It's absolutely hard. It's training. It takes time to develop that kind of like you are putting enough in to keep it steady, but not so much that you're rigid. You're not rigid, you're just, as he would say it, you're firm. You're not you're not being too light, you're not being too intense, just really very ever so focused on where you're putting your utensil. And it's difficult. It's really, really, really hard to do. Yeah, go about there. So it's kind of drop down a little bit, right? This will start to drop down. That will start rotating that way. It's always important to remember where your axes are, your points of pivot, especially if you have something with a lot of pivots on it. You can kind of fudge it, but you do need to be aware of them quite a bit, I think. Move that way. A little bit more subtle motion than the rest of it. Again, at least for illustration animation, every line is a shape. Every line is a shape. Every line is something that has adds substance. So you have to be aware of how it moves. How it moves. Important. Have her relaxing there a little bit. Got this line. Fortunate. Yeah, I lost it in here. Like that. And it's important, at least at the very least, when it comes to working on a canvas like this, that you're constantly zooming in and out, anyways. So that way you're like, okay, this is what I want to work on. You focus in on it. Then you take a step back, you look back at it, make sure that you're where you look next. Getting too zoned in on something will be equally as detrimental as not being close enough. Usually in the opposite direction, but equally. Being equally detrimental in a different direction still means it's doing the same amount of damage, just different. Then again, guys are going to stay in relatively the same spot, so I outline them. think also knowing when stuff doesn't move and training yourself better on that really helps a lot. And it's helped me a lot. It helps me draw things the same way more consistently. And it keeps you in mind of like what is and isn't moving. It's important for animation. Very important for animation. To stay relatively the same. It does not help that sometimes, this is a thing I've noticed that the program does, is it will reshape stuff when I don't mean to. It's helping. It's trying to help. It's not doing a great job of it, but it is trying to help. Right? I get what I'm trying to do. Yes, I appreciate it. Stop it. The worst when you like actually get the line exactly where you want it, and then it's like, did you mean it here? And I'm like, no, not at all. Why? Why would you why? Who's trying to help? They would say, help less. Animate, help less. Oh, this is kind of an interesting anecdote. Uh, uh, that because there's this nice thing that in the animator's survival kit, he'll make a lot of these like they're just like small little infographics, I guess, is what they are, that he's like physically written into the book. And one of them is Epitaph on an unfortunate artist. He found a formula for drawing comic rabbits. This formula for drawing comic rabbits paid. So in the end, he could not change the tragic habits this formula for drawing comic rabbits made. And he's not wrong. He's not wrong. When you draw the same thing over and over again, you end up drawing it the same way over and over again. And that can equally be an issue. The only way to break that is by drawing something different. Life drawing is the antidote to this. When you're doing life drawing, you're all alone. One of the main reasons animators, once they become animators, don't like to spend their evenings in spare time life drawing is because it's not a collaborative operation, which is interesting. I don't have that problem, Richard. Oh, wait, yes. I was like, wait, or was it Robert? No, it was Richard. I don't have that issue. I animate all by myself. Hold. Not like it's going to billow. Have it hold this shape and then it will billow out. One of the things that helps me for keeping line. Let's say I want to keep the line thickness. I've gotten better at, which is so weird to say, and I don't think I'm the only one who does this. Look, so this is gonna sound bad. Look at what you're doing. It's it sounds mean because I do that. Sometimes you just draw, but you zone out a little. You like zone out ever so imperceptibly. And when you zone out, you don't realize much in the way that that is saying. You don't realize that you're making like you're not paying attention to what you're drawing. You're not paying attention to how you're doing it. Because you're just going through the motions, making the line. You're not thinking about it. You're not looking at what the physical pen medium, whatever you're working with, you're not focused on where the line is going. And yeah, you're not looking at it. You're thinking because you're thinking about what you're gonna draw next. You're thinking about what you're drawing next. You're not thinking about what you're drawing now. That's why it's like it's actually not mean. It's not. I'm not meaning it to be mean. I'm not saying you're. Anytime I say something like that, I'm not saying you're stupid because I do it. I'm stupid. Um, but that's the thing is like sometimes we don't think about how we're not focused on something. We're not intently doing something. We're thinking 2 steps, 3 steps ahead sometimes, or we're thinking about something else, distracted or whatever. And when it comes to drawing, I wonder how I'm starting how I've become so capable of being able to be very particular at making a shape. I have learned that you gotta hone in, you gotta zone in. But that doesn't mean that I don't have my moments. It takes a lot of focus and actually a lot of pressure to be able to keep that. When you start getting tired, you start getting lazy. You get tired, you get lazy. That's actually a normal thing. Not an excuse. You just got to account for it. That's the important thing to remember. Is you got to account for when you get to that point. Like, what do you need now? What do you need to do to be able to account for you starting to get a little bit more tired and a little bit more like just I'm just feeling it. You're just feeling it, right? Now this is wind down. So this is something I need to remember is this fast action, right? You've got one, two, three, four, five, and deceleration, acceleration has has more of your frames at the beginning and fewer at the point of action. Deceleration means you have the same amount of frames at the quick action. So we have what, 4 frames here, which means I need around 3 to 4 frames of deceleration action. And because this is a particularly snappy motion, like the deceleration is pretty fast, but the follow through to it means that the deceleration is still there and fathomable. There's also a nice arc in there. You see how the body kind of like circles. It kind of circles with the arm. You see the arm motion and the body and everything kind of circles with it. That's something important to remember is that with that arc you want to be keeping a really good motion going as it's going. Animation is fun. Animation is fun. Like, it's actually a lot of fun when you start getting into it. But it is intimidating. It is incredibly intimidating. Because it's a lot of work. It is probably the most work you could do per capita as probably an artist can do, which is why I want to do it consistently. It's not the only thing I'm going to do. Absolutely not. I don't know how any animator says the only thing I do is animate. I'm like, there's no fucking way. I need to find shorter forms of media to do in the meantime. There's no way. I would lose my mind. All right, now the popper is at its probably most proper proportions here. This relatively the same. Not too much going on with that. And remember, really, the lesson behind this. Let it be for those who see this and go, oh, hell no, this is a warning. And for those who go, oh, hell yes, this is a challenge, right? Like, if you see this, you see what I'm doing, and you go, I could never do that. That's fine. Maybe that's a warning sign for you. Maybe it's like, okay, you can't do this. That's fine. That's acceptable. There's nothing wrong with being able to see somebody do something and go, oh. You look at what Bob Ross does and go, how did he make that mountain? Okay, it's fine. You don't need to make mountains. Okay. It's not the reason why I did it, though. Much like as he said, and I do kind of want to embody this too, if you look at this and go, could I do that? You could. I think anybody who sees what I'm doing, if you see this and go, damn, how? Really? I would love to be able to be like, if I can do this, you could do this. Anyone could do it. People do. Animation is made by human beings, and you're one too. Damn, I said it. A little bit more, again. A little bit more. Imperceptible movements. Keeping the proportions the same, moving it a little bit. And I'm doing this in a way that even with so there's an argument to be made that if I was really, really doing this to make sure I'm getting everything right, I shouldn't be working on one layer. Right now, I can only think at one layer at a time. That's just how my brain works right now. But if I was really doing this, the arm would be on its own layer, the body and the face would be on its own layer because they are two pieces of motion that I need to be able to have enough manipulation on independently that they shouldn't be moving on the same plane. They should be moving on their own planes. But that's not necessarily good. That's not necessarily good. And the reason why is because the way that I've kind of gone about my process so far really doesn't do that. It really doesn't benefit from that. Not from what at least I've been doing, both for my thought process and for the way that it's been working. Look at that. I've still been making progress, and it's a little over 3.5 hours, so I'm probably going to finish this frame. I wasn't sure if I was going to do 4 hours today because I want a little bit extra time, and I started a little bit later because we're going to be streaming here pretty quickly around due to time adjustment, which is totally fine. Totally okay. Um, things happen. People's lives happen, and I'm just proud that he's willing to try. So that's the thing, is like I'm always willing to adjust my timetable as long as it works for both of us. That's always my thing. And I'm super glad that we're gonna try. So we're gonna try to probably do Xenogears a little bit later. I know it's probably not easy for him, and I appreciate him for that. It's tough. Absolutely. No judgment. Love you, buddy. Excited for more Xenogears. Tell your friends you love them. Tell your friends they matter. They do. Love and peace, baby. That's what we here for. That's what my channel's here for. I don't know about anybody else, but that's what my channel's here for. Remember, you can't rush. Bob Ross is only so fast because he's trained the discipline to be able to put the thing where he wants it. But he got there because he took the time to get there. Don't fight the instrument. You don't want to fight the instrument. You want to be kind of you and whatever you're using, whether it be a pen and stylus, a paintbrush, a pencil. You are signing a contract with that item, an unwritten agreement, and it's in your best interest to work with what it does to get an effect. This is why maybe I start posting. Maybe I'll start posting Bob Ross to the Discord. We'll see, because he's been helpful. It's just chill, man. Everybody love us a good Bob. Everybody love us a good Bob. It doesn't help, and this is something that, unfortunately, there is anything that's probably fundamentally different for as far as like kind of like fatigue, art fatigue. I mean, digital drawing, you're staring at a screen all day. Probably need to turn it. I probably specifically need to turn down the brightness of this screen specifically when I'm drawing. The eye strain is real, man. Again, that's why it's not pay attention to what you're doing, but remember, especially if you're doing digital art, you're spending a lot of time staring at a screen. So it's not like it's unfathomable to be like, I lost focus. Well, you're staring at a glowing flat plane for several hours. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, that just means how do you overcome staring at the flat glowing pane of glass? For me, mine is to blink more. I notice I don't blink enough. I've been told I don't blink enough. An optometrist told me I need to blink more. I blame playing a lot of video games. Probably why my eyes are so bad. My eyes actually aren't that bad. I've been told my eyes are actually quite good for needing glasses. Not really taking my time. I am communicating with the pen, and you understand that the pen has feelings too, right? Like you just whatever your position is, you really focus in on what your arm and hand are doing to make sure that the next direction it goes follows where the tip is. The machine spirit is real. They have feelings. Silos, you missed it. I had to ban a bot. Eh, you good. I just know that you're like, damn it, I missed it again. And I'm like, I'm sorry, buddy. Ah, you good. Those plants are fucking needy, man. I specifically love when people start taking care of plants and then they begin to realize that plants are a living organism as well and just as needy and finicky and a bit of a bitch as any other pet. Like, this is not a complaint. If you take care of plants, that's awesome. I would love to take care of plants. The irony is plants are surprisingly more work than you would think as something that barely does anything all day but sit in the sun. Which is cool. Aeroponics is really cool. Got any spider plants? Ooh, jeez. I think spider plants are actually quite cool. They're weird. Soilless plants are really weird. It's all veggies, gotcha. Yeah. Goal here is you're going to have a circular motion. Is resettling. Like I said, this will probably be the last frame we do. Now, this is something I want to train myself. This is a piece of restraint that I want to pull, is I wait until the end. We wait until the end to see what progress looks like, for the most part. That looks good. That looks really good. That's like the exact timing I want to. And here's the thing, you know, the thing about drawing straight ahead and pose to pose, to add an addendum to that, of combining both, delete your art. It sucks. It sucks. It feels like you wasted time. Delete your art. If you have too many frames, remove a frame. If the action took too long, you just gotta figure out a frame in there to remove. Yeah, you worked on it. You didn't know it was gonna be too long until you got to that point. And you can bemoan that the resource is lost. Do what works best for the piece. Do what works best for the piece. And the producer can be mad about it because you wasted your time drawing a frame that you didn't need to draw. And the director can be mad about it because you drew a frame and weren't able to utilize it. It happens. The quicker you make those calls, the quicker you can move on to the next frame anyways. And that looks really good. That looks so good. Oh, that's perfect. Like, there might be one more frame of deceleration, but that's exactly what I want it to look like. That's really good. What's so funny is people have seen this and they've said, wow, it's impressive that you're drawing on ones. And I'm like, that's the magic, man. That's the magic, man. I'm drawing on twos. I'm drawing on twos. Because in the Animator Survival Kit, they mention that when you really want to get your work polished, you want to be working generally at twos, ones for very, 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 very smooth work. You don't need to work on ones. Twos is enough. Twos is absolutely enough. This has all been on twos. I don't think I'm going to use ones for any part of it. I might use ones for the confetti, and that's it. That's the only part that I'm going to use for ones, and that's it. Everything else will be on twos. I don't want to draw more than two. And that's the thing, is you only use ones on things that are less than a second. Let's be honest. If the motion is less than a second, if I was to add a one anywhere, it'd probably be here. There'd be a one somewhere in there, because I have the leeway to add one or two tween. I have the leeway to add one tween here. There could be one tween here, because there's that much, or one's maybe here, because you have one. I could cut this into 4 frames instead of 2 frames, and it would probably look even smoother. Because it's that fast. But I do technically have the space to add a frame there. And I can. And it wouldn't mess with the timing. It would make it look really good. That's when you use ones. Is that the action is so fast. It's so quick. You're not doing ones at half a second. You're doing ones at a tenth of a second. You're doing ones at such an imperceptibly quick time that all you're doing there is adding a tween because the action is that fast and you have one frame to add. You have one frame that you can add there, and it will smooth it out. That's it. That's the only reason why you do it. Or at least that's the only reason why I will do it. And that's why it is recommended in the Animator Survival Kit that you work predominantly at 2s on your final product, on your final bit. And I'm going to find that. I know that he talks about it. Hold on. For timing. Testing. 1, 2, 3s. Best numbering system. The great 1s and 2s battles. Here it is. Some people always complicate the numbering by calling 1s and 2s singles and doubles. In fact, singles is from the 1940s, determined between the animation. The drawing of 1s, 3s, and 5s and made evenly spaced charts said to assist to the assistant. I've left you the singles chart. If anything, they should have called it the odds, but because people suck at saying things correctly, somebody called them the singles once, who was professional enough to sound professional, so everybody called it the singles, when it should be odds and evens. I've left you the odds. I.e. single in-betweens. But when to use 1s and when to use 1s and when to use 2s. The rule of thumb is use 2s for normal actions and 1s for very fast actions. For instance, runs always have to be on 1s, normal acting on 2s. Walks can function nicely on 2s, but they're going to look better on 1s. Obviously, life is on 1s, or whatever speed we film it on. But 2s work well for most actions, and of course, it's half as much work as working on 1s. And half as expensive. Working on 1s is twice as much work and expense all the way down the production line. So for me, the way that I read that, the way that I translate that to where I'm going to use 1s is I'm going to work on 2s. I'm going to work my work down to 2s and then add 1s for the fastest parts to just split them. Give them a little bit more smoothness. Just a little bit. But if it's smooth on 2s, it stays on 2s. It stays on 2s. Only actions that are going to need 1s are the grab, or that grab. What's funny is the grab and if I wanted to do something really stupid, I would add 1s in one more spot. I would add 1s here. So you see how this goes, right? How this goes up. But the irony is my character is not going to change. She is going to look relatively the same. The only ones that are going to matter are the betweens of the popper. Those are the only ones that are going to matter. Everything else, she barely moves. She barely changes at all. The only things that are going to be the ones for are going to be for the popper. And then you might have a one here where you have a little bit more space to understand where her hand comes from. So that would be a tween there. And then the grab, that'd be a tween there. And that's it. Back to 2s. You don't need 2s for anything else because not really anything is moving. There's not really anything happening. It's the most sudden movement. So what I've created at a bare minimum is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I've made 6 frames of animation. That's not bad. That's about 30 minutes of work. 6 frames of animation is about 30 to 45 minutes of work for me. And I don't have to do ones anywhere else. You don't have to do ones anywhere else. Rest is 2s. He does add an anecdote that he finds interesting. His experience is you found that if you plan for 1s, the result usually is superior to 2s. He feels that 2s are an economic answer to an artistic question, with 2s being half the work. Everybody gets to go home on time. Why would I have a case for 1s? I was a studio owner. When I was relearning all this stuff, I would wait till my animation on 1s was traced and painted. Then I'd shoot it on 1s as planned. Then you'd take out every other cell and shoot the rest on twos to see if they sparkled and was better. He threw away his art. He took out frames that weren't working. Like, if you didn't need the one there was no point. It didn't add no texture, didn't add anything else. In all but one case, ones worked better. The time the twos worked better was when they had an old lady pulling out a doctor's stethoscope from her pocket. The ones produced a very smooth movement. It worked just fine, but then you removed every other painted in between and shot it in twos. It was better on twos. Can't figure out why, but it was just better. And I can add to that. The reason why it worked better is because sometimes you have to remove something from a piece to get a better feeling out of that piece. So they're partly right, you guess. And you became addicted to using ones whenever you could. Ones seemed to make for more compulsive viewing, and that was better. And they, to kind of like put this in perspective, is I think my work looks better at twos, and I want to apply ones to give it a little bit more, just a little bit more spice. But he's not wrong. I kind of agree more on the side of it saves me time. I don't have to do as much drawing at ones and then removing stuff. I only want to remove something if I absolutely am like, this is not working. Cut it. Remove it out. Just rip it out. Don't want to do more. It's not working. Got to do something different. That's the only time I want to use ones. Or the only time I want to delete something. And then I want to use ones if I'm like going through my twos and noticing I could add a frame there. I could add a frame there and there and there, and it will add a little bit more. Just like a little bit more. And grab the attention a little bit more. There is a little bit probably to be said that it'll make for some more inconsistencies, because it'll mean like it'll suddenly feel like there's a lot more motion, but that's why I want it. I want the ones where there is more motion overall than the parts where there isn't very much, because in my mind, that is going to translate as the amount of motion that's happening in the twos is equal to the amount of motion that's happening in the ones, even if in the ones it's happening in a less amount of time. Because the overall motion of the object is happening at the same pace, it's just accelerated for quicker stuff. Because if you move, let's say you move your hand a little bit over the course of a second, and then you move it that same amount in half a second. Well, you've moved it the same distance. You've moved the motion is the same distance, but it's just been reduced. So if you want to capture that in motion and not feel like a flicker, if you use it at the same frame rate, it'll still look smooth if you're moving slower. But if you move quicker, adding those frames in will make it look smoother without necessarily distracting from when it wasn't moving very much at all. That's just kind of like an argument of acceleration, I think, that you could go into. When I do this, I should also I was meant to do this. That way when I'm talking, you guys can see where we're at. And I think we're good. I think we're good for today. It was good. It was good progress. Even though I did a lot of cleanup, a lot more cleanup than I meant to. I think I predominantly did more cleanup than I did actual drawing. It's fine. It happens. But I still made the progress that I needed, which is finishing up that grab. Like, I think I got a lot of good progress there. And I was worried. I was worried that I wouldn't make progress, like forward progress today. I made plenty of progress. Progress was still made. But I think the two things that I've learned now to take into the next time I draw is between now and next week, I kind of want to leave a drawing program open at all times when I'm not live. And the reason why is if I'm hanging out with friends, it's just a sketch pad. It's just a sketch pad. I'll just be sketching, noodling. If I have Animate open, I'll be cleaning up tweens while we're just hanging out. And make it just a zen time of just like, I'm just doing it to have it on the side, still hanging out with friends, I'm still focused on whatever we're watching, something isn't super important happening on screen, I can like doodle in a couple of frame, or I can work a little bit on a frame a little bit to polish it or whatever. So that way I'm getting that nice medium, getting that nice middle ground of I'm still working on stuff, I'm still getting progress on it, but I'm not necessarily having it be the main focus. Be able to work on it whilst something else is the focus, but still be able to work on it, have it present. That's my goal. So that way, a lot of this polish I'm not doing while I'm live. I'm predominantly focused. Maybe I do a little bit of polish to warm myself up, and then we get moving. I want to try to have about an hour of polish and no more, no matter what. All right, so on that note, we're going to start closing things down. Before we close, I'm going to open up Bing, which is has an image generator called Bing Create. We're going to make an image together before we write out. If you want to participate, all you got to do is type in chat. Whatever chat says, I'll use as a reference. And then I'll share the image before we go. So, to get us started, focusing in on the very, 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 very tip of the pen. And if you guys want to add to that, I'll give you a little bit. I'll give you like 30 seconds, 30 or 40 seconds. Hope you guys enjoyed the show. I hope you guys had a good time. I'm glad you guys could join. Certainly. It was a good time. Oh, that's good, actually. While speaking with the machine spirit to ensure that you are working together to draw the correct line on your artwork. While speaking and appeasing the machine spirit. While speaking with and appeasing the machine speaking with and appeasing the machine spirit to listen to its feelings and ensure that you are working together to draw the correct line on your artwork. Boy, Bing, good luck with this one. I'm speaking to Bing's machine spirit right now. It's gonna fucking hate this. I think it's gonna fucking hate it. Here it comes. Yep. Oh boy. So everybody, stick around to the very end. I also do a bit of a closing bit. We do raid after every stream, so that way the daywalkers in our chat can keep watching. Just everybody else out there, make sure to go lock your doors and windows. It's almost... Actually, go unlock your doors and windows, because it's no longer lunchtime for daywalkers. And thank you so much for joining, everybody. Hope you had a good time and you enjoyed the show. If you're able to join the live show, thank you for stopping by and chatting and watching. If you're watching this in the future, thank you for taking the time to going back and rewatching the VOD. We appreciate it. If you're out there and you enjoyed this and you want to see more of what we're up to, I recommend scrolling down below and following or clicking any of the links below. There's a links to all of our socials in the Discord. We post when we go live on any one of those platforms, as well as anything else that we're up to. And just generally, you can come hang out with the rest of the community on there. Good time on the Discord. Speaking of which, a shout out to our community there and everyone who follows. You guys are a wonderful audience and we appreciate you. If we do anything particularly entertaining or noteworthy, feel free to clip it and share it on the internet. Just make sure to also hashtag it with MCCanary or link it back to the stream so people can find more of the good stuff we do here. And if you want to see the stream grow, you gotta let people know. I appreciate that people have been talking about the stream and I encourage you guys to do it more. It does help us out. It's just super rad that you guys are willing to do that. And honestly, it's super cool that we're doing things that you guys want to talk about. So go tell your friends about the stream. Go tell people about the stream. I won't. And as always, a huge thank you to all of our supporters on Patreon and Twitch. Your generosity allows us to continue to expand the stream as well as take on more projects. And the stream would not be made possible without viewers like you, so we thank you. If you want to see your name added to this list, as well as a couple of the benefits you could get, you could always subscribe directly on Twitch or check out the Patreon page here to show you everything that you get, and any amount is always appreciated. Really does help us out. I messed that up a little bit. I wanted to add something. I don't remember how I ended. So, thank you to mods for doing a wonderful job holding back the robot army and prevent him becoming famous. Thank you, everybody, for coming and hanging out. I hope you had a good time. I had a good time. It was a good time. We'll get you through housekeeping and get you on your way. Check out the rest of our friends in Goblin Entertainment. Linktree here will take you to everyone's channels and everything that they've done and they've been up to, and the rest of my stuff here, which has everything that I post to. So you should go check everybody out in Goblin Entertainment. And stick around. Let's go say hi to Aid Doge. I actually don't know her full name. I'll just call her Doug. Call her Doug. She's a good gal. We've shared our animation with her before, and she seemed to really like it. So we'll show her an update on the animation. I think she'll be super stoked. And she's just a super chill gal. So everybody go say hi to her. She's a good time. Otherwise, have a good evening, afternoon. Take it easy. We'll be back in a bit. We'll be back in a bit, I think. If not, we might be back in a bit. We'll see. Of course, if Jackson's not feeling up to it, his life is kind of hell right now, along with a lot of other people's. But he is on a very strict time schedule, and if he's not feeling up to it, it's totally fair. But if we are, we might be back later. We'll see. So stick around for that. Otherwise, have yourselves a good afternoon. Take it easy. Remember, the Animator's Survival Guide is here to make you better as a person. You don't have to agree with everything that they say in it, and it's just helpful. It's got a lot of good insight and a lot of good wisdom. So is the implication here that in speaking with the machine spirit, it's able to draw what it feels? Because that's pretty fucking wild. See, this is Bing's machine spirit. This is Bing drawing the machine spirit here. Clearly, Bing needs to go to therapy, I think.